Indiana is a land of rolling hills, dense forests, and mist-covered rivers. But beneath its serene landscapes lurks a darker history. Many of the state's most beautiful natural areas are steeped in tragedy, mystery, and unexplained phenomena. From abandoned forests, where shadows seem to move with a mind of their own, to desolate rivers hiding secrets from centuries past, Indiana's wilderness has been the site of countless eerie encounters. Ghostly figures, phantom cries, and inexplicable lights have been reported by hikers, campers, and local residents. In this video, we'll explore 25 of the most haunted natural places in Indiana, sharing the chilling stories, legends, and first-hand encounters that continue to terrify anyone who dares to wander off the beaten path. Prophetstown State Park, nestled along the Wabash River near West Lafayette, Indiana, is a place of quiet beauty by day. Its meadows, woodlands, and winding river trails invite families, hikers, and nature lovers to explore its peaceful landscapes. Yet, beneath the park's tranquil surface lies a history steeped in violence, resistance, and spiritual unrest. The park sits on the grounds of a former Native American settlement led by Tenskwatawa, known as the Prophet, and the echoes of the past still linger in the shadows. In the early 1800s, Prophetstown was a thriving hub for Native American communities united in resistance against encroaching U.S. forces. The settlement became a focal point during Tecumseh's Confederacy, a movement striving to preserve indigenous lands and culture. Conflict inevitably followed, culminating in the Battle of Tippecanoe in 1811, while history books recount strategies, troop movements, and casualties. The spirits of those who died or whose lives were shattered are said to remain bound to the land, creating a palpable tension for those who venture here today. Visitors to Prophetstown State Park often describe sensations that defy logical explanation. As twilight descends over the river, hikers have reported hearing the faint beating of drums carried on the wind, accompanied by indistinct chanting. The sounds are eerily rhythmic, almost ceremonial. Yet when they search for the source, no one is visible. Some say it is the echo of Tenskwatawa's spiritual guidance, lingering to protect and warn, while others feel it is the anguished cry of warriors and villagers who met violent ends centuries ago. Shadow figures are another common sight. Parkgoers report seeing humanoid forms near the riverbanks, dressed in what appears to be traditional Native American attire. These figures often vanish when approached, as if aware of the living intruding upon their sacred space. Some explorers swear they've witnessed these figures performing movements that resemble ceremonial dances, their outlines flickering between the trees and mist like smoke. The experience is described as both mesmerizing and deeply unsettling, a reminder that the land holds memories that have never been forgotten. Paranormal investigators have noted other inexplicable phenomena. Sudden drops in temperature occur along secluded trails, even in the heat of summer. The feeling of being watched is nearly constant in certain areas, particularly near the river's edge and among the denser groves of trees. Some claim to have felt brushes against their arms or shoulders, as if unseen hands are guiding or warning them. Others report hearing whispers just beyond comprehension, murmured words that fade as soon as they try to focus on them. These experiences are often accompanied by an overwhelming sense of unease, a subtle but undeniable suggestion that the park is alive with unseen presences. Even the wildlife seems influenced by the lingering energy. Deer and other animals have been observed behaving oddly, pausing and staring into spaces where no living thing is present. Birds sometimes take flight en masse, startled by unseen movements, and the river itself occasionally produces unusual echoes that seem too rhythmic, too intentional, to be mere natural phenomena. Locals and repeat visitors alike caution that these occurrences are not the product of imagination, but the subtle impressions of an environment steeped in history and spiritual resonance. Beyond auditory and visual phenomena, the park has inspired stories of physical encounters. A few daring hikers have reported feeling invisible forces nudging them off trails or encountering sudden gusts of wind that seem to originate from nowhere. Cameras left running overnight have occasionally captured faint orbs of light drifting above the meadows or river, their movements inconsistent with known sources. Nighttime expeditions often produce a heightened sense of disorientation, with compasses or GPS devices occasionally malfunctioning, adding to the eerie reputation of the park. Local folklore has preserved these legends, passing down tales of Tenskwatawa's prophecy and the protective spirits of Prophetstown. Some say that the shadowy figures act as guardians, ensuring that the sacred grounds are respected. Others believe that the spirits are trapped between worlds, bound by unresolved fear and anger from the conflicts of the early 19th century. Visitors are advised to remain respectful, to tread lightly, and to avoid disturbing these energies, lest they draw unwanted attention from forces beyond the living world. Despite its haunting, Prophetstown State Park remains a popular destination, drawing not only historians and hikers, but also paranormal enthusiasts seeking a glimpse of the otherworldly. The juxtaposition of serene natural beauty with the lingering presence of the past creates a unique atmosphere, one where the living can witness the intangible weight of history. For those willing to explore its trails, the park offers not only a connection to nature, but also a chilling portal to the echoes of lives and struggles, long ended yet never truly gone. In the end, Prophetstown is more than just a state park. It is a repository of memory, a crossroads of history, spirit, and legend. Every rustling leaf, every ripple along the Wabash, and every shadow along the trails tells a story of a people who once lived, fought, and died here. The park invites visitors to walk among the remnants of a turbulent past, to feel the whispers of centuries-old ceremonies, and to acknowledge the spirits that refuse to fade quietly into history. Whether one interprets these experiences as natural phenomena, psychological impressions, or genuine hauntings, the presence of the past at Prophetstown State Park is undeniable, leaving a lingering, chilling impression that follows every step along its ancient paths. Clifty Falls State Park, located near Madison, Indiana, is often celebrated for its dramatic waterfalls, steep cliffs, and winding trails. The cascading waters draw photographers, hikers, and nature enthusiasts, creating a sense of awe at the power and beauty of the natural landscape. Yet, beneath the picturesque scenery lies a darker history, one that whispers through the cliffs and trails, leaving an unsettling imprint on those who venture too close to its hidden corners. For decades, local lore has told of screams and cries echoing through the park, often heard by hikers when the trails appear completely empty. Some attribute these sounds to natural acoustics, the wind whistling between cliffs or water, cascading over jagged rocks, but others insist they are the voices of the restless dead. The most persistent legend involves a miner who tragically fell to his death near the lower falls in the late 1800s. According to eyewitness accounts, his ghostly figure continues to haunt the cliffs, sometimes seen clinging to the jagged rocks, arms outstretched as if pleading for help or warning the living of the danger below. Visitors to Clifty Falls often describe a chilling sensation of being watched, particularly when navigating the narrower paths along the cliff edges. Shadows seem to shift in ways that defy natural light, darting between trees or hovering near the mist created by the cascading falls. Many hikers report sudden drops in temperature, a bone-deep cold that spreads along the spine and makes their breaths visible even on warm days. These experiences are often accompanied by the inexplicable sound of footsteps following behind, only to vanish when they turn to look. Paranormal investigators who have explored Clifty Falls frequently note the presence of orbs and light anomalies captured on camera. These glowing spheres appear to float along the trails or hover near the waterfalls, moving independently of any natural source. Some theorists suggest they may be the energy of spirits trapped near the site of the miner's fatal accident, while others believe they are residual echoes of tragedies long forgotten by the outside world. Whatever the explanation, hikers often feel an undeniable unease when these phenomena appear, a warning that the park is not merely a playground for the living. Shadowy forms, are another common report among those brave enough to explore the deeper sections of the park. Witnesses describe fleeting shapes moving just beyond the tree line or disappearing into the mist at the base of the falls. Some figures resemble the outline of a man in mining garb, perhaps a lingering remnant of the miner whose death gave birth to the legend. Others are less defined, appearing as amorphous shadows that seem to observe intruders before dissolving into the landscape. The effect is disorienting and chilling, leaving visitors questioning whether they are seeing actual spirits or their own imagination magnified by the park's eerie atmosphere. Several hikers have reported hearing voices in the trees or along the cliff edges, soft whispers calling names, fragments of sentences, or urgent warnings to turn back. These sounds often emerge in places where no other person is present, and they fade as soon as attention is focused on them. Some have felt the sensation of being brushed or touched by unseen hands, especially near the more treacherous cliff trails. Others describe hearing the sound of a miner's pickaxe striking rock, as if the labor of long-dead workers echoes eternally through the gorge. Local folklore also tells of other tragedies associated with the cliffs. Beyond the miner, there have been stories of hikers disappearing, slipping from steep paths, or vanishing mysteriously while exploring isolated trails. Some accounts suggest these disappearances are the result of supernatural forces, drawing the living toward the cliffs to join those who came before. In other tales, the cliffs themselves are said to be alive, guiding intruders toward danger, ensuring that the park's dark legacy endures. Despite the fear and uncertainty, many are drawn to Clifty Falls, not just for its natural beauty, but for the thrill of encountering its haunted reputation firsthand. Nighttime hikes are particularly intense, as shadows stretch across the waterfalls, and the sounds of the falls blend with distant whispers, moans, and footsteps. Paranormal enthusiasts report that EVPs captured in these moments sometimes reveal fragments of speech, pleas for help, warnings of danger, or mournful cries of someone lost in time. Even daytime visitors occasionally experience the park's unsettling energy. Shadows may flicker in the corner of vision, and the mist from the falls can create strange optical illusions, making cliffs seem closer than they are, or revealing phantom figures in the fog. The combination of natural treachery and paranormal activity makes Clifty Falls a place that demands respect, where the boundary between the living and the dead feels remarkably thin. Clifty Falls State Park is a place where nature's beauty and human tragedy collide. The waterfalls continue their relentless descent, the cliffs stand sharp and unyielding, and the trails wind through spaces that have witnessed centuries of accidents, losses, and lingering energy. Whether it is the spirit of the fallen miner, shadowy figures glimpsed in the periphery, or the inexplicable sounds and orbs, the park carries an aura of history that refuses to be ignored. Visitors who tread its paths are reminded that behind the serene views lies a story of peril, sorrow, and the enduring presence of the past. For those brave enough to explore, Clifty Falls offers both the splendor of Indiana's natural landscapes and a chilling glimpse into its haunted history. The echoes of tragedy linger in the cliffs, the mists, and the shadows, ensuring that the park's legend remains alive for generations of hikers, explorers, and paranormal seekers. Every step along the trails is a step into a world where nature and the supernatural intertwine, leaving a lasting impression that blends awe with unease. Hoosier National Forest sprawls across more than 200,000 acres in southern Indiana, offering miles of trails, dense woodlands, and remote camping areas. Its natural beauty attracts hikers, campers, and nature enthusiasts year-round. Yet beneath the serene canopy lies a history and presence that many describe as unsettling. While the forest is celebrated for its hiking paths and wildlife, it has long been whispered about for the strange occurrences and ghostly phenomena reported by those who ventured deep into its shadows. Visitors to Hoosier National Forest often describe an eerie feeling, a sensation that they are being watched even in the middle of a seemingly empty clearing. Campers report hearing voices calling their names, soft at first and then growing urgent, only to find no one nearby. Footsteps echo through the underbrush at night, circling tents and campsites, while the wind appears still. Leaves rustling without any gust to explain the sound. Some hikers say that even in broad daylight, shadows move along the tree line in unnatural ways. Dark figures appearing and vanishing when caught in the corner of the eye. Abandoned logging camps, hidden deep within the forest, carry particularly grim reputations. These camps, relics of early 20th century logging operations, were sites of repeated accidents. Men fell from heights, machinery malfunctioned, and several workers reportedly died in isolated areas where help could not reach them in time. Locals believe the spirits of these workers linger, and those who pass the old cabins often feel an overwhelming sense of dread. Some hikers report cold spots so severe that they can see their breath, even during warm months, and describe a tangible heaviness in the air, as if the forest itself resents intrusion. Paranormal investigators have spent nights in Hoosier National Forest, documenting strange phenomena. Many have captured unexplained EVP's voices, whispering names, murmurs of distress, and what sounds like urgent warnings. Some report seeing orbs of light hovering above the forest floor, moving in patterns that defy natural explanation. In certain areas, hikers describe an almost magnetic pull, a subtle but insistent pressure that seems to guide them toward particular sites, such as old logging camps, abandoned cabins, or cliff edges overlooking narrow gorges. Shadowy figures are a recurring theme in reports from Hoosier National Forest. Witnesses describe tall, human-like silhouettes that appear between the trees, sometimes motionless, and sometimes moving slowly along trails. These figures vanish when approached or illuminated, leaving hikers questioning what they saw. Some figures are believed to represent the lost loggers, still performing the tasks that claim their lives, while others are less defined amorphous shapes that seem to observe intruders before disappearing into the dense forest. Many who explore Hoosier National Forest also speak of disorienting experiences, particularly when venturing far from marked trails. Trails may appear to loop in impossible ways, familiar landmarks seeming to shift or vanish entirely. Hikers sometimes experience a sensation of being followed, hearing rustling behind them or feeling a brush against their shoulders, only to find the path empty. The forest's dense canopy and uneven terrain make these encounters all the more unnerving, as the natural sounds of wildlife blend with the supernatural, creating an atmosphere where perception is constantly challenged. Some areas of the forest are particularly active at night. Campers have reported hearing distant hammering and chains clanging, reminiscent of the logging operations that once dominated the area. Occasionally, faint silhouettes of men at work are glimpsed through the trees, appearing to carry axes or tools, then fading as if swallowed by the woods. The sense of a lingering past is strong, as though the forest preserves echoes of human toil and tragedy that cannot rest. Even daytime visitors are not immune to the forest's strange energy. Shadows can flicker across the trail, even when the sun is high, and misty figures sometimes appear near old cabins or along riverbanks. Wildlife seems to behave differently in these areas. Birds fall silent, and animals vanish from sight, leaving an unnatural stillness. Hikers often leave with a lingering sense that the forest has observed them, an unspoken reminder that they are intruders in a landscape heavy with history and spectral presence. Stories passed down through generations reinforce the forest's haunted reputation. Locals tell of hunters and campers who vanished without a trace, sometimes returning days later with no memory of their experience, or never returning at all. Some attribute these disappearances to the forest itself, a living entity that protects the spirits residing within. Others believe that the spirits are drawn to those who enter the forest, unwilling to allow them to leave without experiencing the same sense of fear and vulnerability that they endured in life. Hoosier National Forest is a place where natural beauty and the paranormal collide. Its trails wind through forests steeped in history, and its cabins, rivers, and cliffs hold echoes of lives once lived and lost. Visitors who walk the paths may encounter shadows, hear ghostly whispers, or feel unseen hands brushing their skin. The forest's energy is palpable, lingering in the air, and leaving a haunting impression long after hikers leave the trails. For those who venture into Hoosier National Forest, the experience is one of awe and unease. Its towering trees, winding paths, and hidden clearings hold stories of tragedy, loss, and restless spirits. The forest is a reminder that even in the heart of nature, the past never fully dies. Each step through the woods is a step into a landscape where history, fear, and the supernatural intertwine, leaving visitors with a memory of beauty touched by haunting. A place where the living and the dead coexist in perpetual tension. Kegel's Mill Lake, nestled in the heart of Putnam County, Indiana, is a place of serene, natural beauty by day. Its calm waters, surrounded by dense woodlands and secluded islands, attract fishermen, hikers, and nature enthusiasts. Yet, beneath this picturesque surface lies a history steeped in mystery, tragedy, and chilling encounters that have made the lake one of Indiana's most haunted natural sites. Visitors often speak of an atmosphere thick with tension, a feeling that the water and woods themselves are watching. The lake is infamous for its ghostly apparitions, particularly along its fog-laden shorelines. Fishermen are the first to tell the tales, recounting eerie sightings of men rising from the water, dripping and spectral, only to vanish as quickly as they appeared. Some of these figures are said to be drowned victims of accidents or drownings from decades past, their spirits unable to find rest. On misty mornings, experienced anglers have reported feeling an unseen presence near their boats, a chill that seems to seep from the water itself, causing hair to stand on end and a sudden reluctance to continue fishing in certain coves. Nighttime on Kegel's Mill Lake brings the stories to life in ways both subtle and terrifying. Visitors report unexplainable lights hovering over the water, bobbing and floating as if guided by an invisible hand. These orbs of light often appear near the islands or along tree-lined banks, vanishing when approached or when cameras attempt to capture them. Hikers and campers describe hearing faint cries for help carried on the wind, and some have reported the haunting sound of chains dragging across the muddy shoreline, echoing in a way that seems impossible to explain. One of the most enduring legends of Kegel's Mill Lake involves the ghostly figure of a woman. Witnesses describe her as wearing a wet, tattered dress, standing silently at the water's edge. Those who have approached her report an overwhelming sense of dread, a pull of sadness and warning that forces them to retreat. By the time anyone attempts to get closer, she disappears entirely, leaving only ripples in the water or a faint impression of a figure standing where no one remains. Locals whisper that she may be a victim of tragedy long ago, unable to leave the lake and eternally searching for someone who can never return. Several areas around the lake are particularly active, especially near old docks and abandoned recreational structures. These sites are rumored to have been locations of drownings or accidents, and paranormal investigators often focus on these spots. Many have recorded unexplained sounds, including low moans, distant screams, and the unmistakable clinking of chains. Some visitors claim to have seen ghostly hands reaching up from the water, disappearing when anyone moves closer. The combination of fog, moonlight, and reflective waters creates an environment where perception blurs, and ordinary shadows can become terrifying figures in the imagination. The islands scattered across Kegel's Mill Lake add another layer of mystery. Few people dare to explore them at night, as they are said to harbor the most persistent spirits. Shadowy figures have been reported moving among the trees, their forms indistinct but undeniably human. Some say these apparitions replay tragic moments, reenacting events that led to their deaths. Campers have recounted waking to find small, wet footprints circling their tents, though no living creature could have made them. Others report being touched by unseen hands or feeling the weight of a presence sitting beside them, invisible yet unmistakably real. Fishermen often tell of sudden storms that seem to arise without warning, with gusts of wind and choppy waters appearing in a calm night. Some believe these storms are not merely natural phenomena but the manifestations of restless spirits, agitated by intruders on their haunted domain. In certain cases, boaters have claimed to hear whispered warnings not to approach specific coves or to leave the lake entirely. only for the wind and fog to part suddenly, as if the forest itself is responding. Kegel's Mill Lake also carries a history of human tragedy that feeds into its haunted reputation. Over the decades, accidental drownings, boating mishaps, and unfortunate incidents have left a record of sorrow along its shores. It is said that the lingering energy of these deaths contributes to the unsettling feelings reported by visitors. People describe not only visual apparitions, but emotional impressions, waves of sadness, panic, or despair that seem to radiate from the lake itself. Those who spend extended time in the area often experience an oppressive heaviness, a sensation of being watched, or the eerie sensation of someone walking just behind them, even when the path is empty. Photographers and paranormal investigators have attempted to document these strange occurrences for years. Some have captured unexplained light anomalies, misty shapes over the water, and shadowy forms among the trees. Others have recorded electronic voice phenomena, faint cries and whispers in locations where no human presence exists. Even skeptics admit that the lake's ambience is unnerving. The combination of dense fog, still waters, and the sounds of the forest make it easy to believe that something unseen lingers on its shores. Kegel's Mill Lake remains a place where beauty and terror coexist. Its waters are calm and inviting, yet beneath the surface and among the mist-shrouded islands, restless spirits are said to wander. Visitors who tread the banks after dark are entering a realm where the past refuses to stay buried, where tragedies of water and wilderness leave echoes in the wind and reflections on the lake. The stories of apparitions, lights, cries, and shadowy forms have persisted for generations, earning Kegel's Mill Lake a reputation as one of Indiana's most haunted natural sites. For those who venture to its secluded banks, the experience is unforgettable, chilling reminder that even the most tranquil landscapes can hold dark, restless secrets. The lake's mist-shrouded waters, isolated islands, and foggy shores invite curiosity, but they also demand respect. In every ripple, in every whisper of wind, the legacy of tragedy and haunting remains, waiting for those who dare to witness its spectral inhabitants. Brown County State Park, located near Nashville, Indiana, is renowned for its breathtaking vistas, rolling hills, and dense forests that change dramatically with each season. By day, the park attracts hikers, photographers, and families eager to soak in the natural beauty. But as night falls, or even on quiet, misty mornings, many visitors have reported experiences that suggest a far darker side lurking beneath its scenic charm. The park's most persistent legends are tied to the old Civilian Conservation Corps (CCC) cabins scattered throughout the forest. Built during the 1930s, these cabins were used to house workers who labored to construct trails, lodges, and other park structures. Though abandoned for decades, the cabins remain standing, weathered and decaying. Visitors claim that these cabins are a focal point for paranormal activity, with doors slamming shut on their own and flickering lights appearing in windows where no electricity has flowed for generations. Some explorers swear that stepping too close triggers a sudden chill, as if invisible eyes are watching, or unseen footsteps echo the visitors' movements, always staying just behind. Hikers and campers often describe encounters with shadowy figures moving through the thick trees. These silhouettes appear human, yet seem intangible, vanishing when approached or photographed. Many report hearing whispers and laughter, carried across ridges and valleys, even when trails are deserted. Some accounts tell of fleeting glimpses of people in period clothing, believed to be either CCC workers or early settlers who once lived in the area. The feeling of being followed is particularly strong along ridge trails, where the park's vast openness contrasts with the dense forests below. Footsteps appear to echo in empty areas, and the sound of someone or something trailing a visitor is often reported. The most unsettling stories come from those who visit the park late at night. The combination of moonlight filtering through the trees, fog rolling across the ridges, and the natural sounds of the forest creates an atmosphere where imagination blurs with reality. Campers have recounted hearing sudden, unidentifiable noises outside their tents, doors banging, trees creaking in unnatural ways, or low moans that seem to drift from nowhere in particular. Some have even seen lights that float between trees or around the cabins, vanishing when approached. Locals suggest that these lights may be residual energy from past inhabitants, or spirits who linger in the areas where life was once vibrant, but is now long gone. Another common tale involves the overlooked trails, where hikers report seeing figures moving along the ridges just at the edge of vision. These figures are rarely detailed. They appear as dark silhouettes against a fading sky, but the sense of presence is unmistakable. Visitors describe sudden drops in temperature, an almost physical pressure on the chest, or the sensation of being touched by something unseen. Photographers have captured orbs of light or misty shapes in their images, though skeptics often attribute these to natural phenomena. Yet, the sheer number of consistent reports over the years has solidified Brown County State Park's reputation as one of Indiana's most mysterious and haunted natural spaces. The legends extend beyond the cabins and trails. Several visitors have reported seeing ghostly apparitions near the streams and ponds scattered throughout the park. Figures are sometimes described as fishing or walking along the banks, only to vanish when approached. Children's laughter is occasionally heard echoing from dense forest areas, though no one is in sight. Paranormal investigators who have spent nights in the park frequently report EVP's electronic voice phenomena, capturing faint whispers, footsteps, or low moans, often matching the time when hikers and campers report their encounters. Even the roads leading into the park are not exempt from these stories. Several drivers have described seeing shadowy figures crossing deserted park roads or misty lights darting along the tree line. Some motorists swear they've felt a presence pressing against their vehicles, only to find the road empty moments later. The combination of winding roads, thick woods, and the park's remote location amplifies the sense of unease, and many leave the park with an inexplicable feeling of having shared space with unseen entities. Local lore suggests that the spirits and unexplained phenomena may be tied to the park's long human history. Beyond the CCC era, the region was home to settlers, loggers, and travelers who faced harsh winters, accidents, and tragedies along these ridges. Each generation left an imprint, and perhaps it is these residual energies that linger in the abandoned cabins, along the overlooks, and deep within the forests. Visitors are often struck by the contrast between the park's natural beauty and the palpable sense of sorrow or unease in certain areas, as if the land itself remembers the lives lived and lost among its hills. Despite its reputation, Brown County State Park continues to attract thrill-seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. Night hikes, photography expeditions, and dedicated investigations have captured countless stories of fleeting shadows, inexplicable sounds, and spectral figures. Whether one believes in ghosts or not, the collective experiences of hikers, campers, and investigators cannot be entirely dismissed. The park's combination of historical significance, natural isolation, and dense forests creates a setting where the veil between the present and the past seems thin. Brown County State Park remains a place of beauty intertwined with mystery. Rolling hills and scenic overlooks conceal an unsettling undercurrent, a realm where shadows linger and whispers echo through the trees. Visitors are drawn to its hiking trails, cabins, and overlooks, yet many leave with more than photographs. They leave with an unshakable feeling of having glimpsed something beyond the natural world. It is a place where the past and present coexist in a spectral dance, reminding all who wander its forests and ridges that some spirits never leave, and some histories refuse to be forgotten. The Falls of the White River in White County, Indiana, is a site of both natural beauty and eerie tales. The cascading waters, framed by dense forest and rugged cliffs, draw visitors seeking scenic views and quiet reflection. Yet beneath the tranquil surface, the area has long been associated with haunting legends, passed down through generations and whispered among hikers, anglers, and locals alike. One of the most persistent legends involves Native American spirits, said to be bound to the land after betrayal and tragedy during the westward expansion. Local lore claims that warriors and families who once lived along the White River were forced from their homes or met violent ends, and their restless spirits remained tied to the falls. Visitors often report sudden chills, even on warm summer days, and an inexplicable feeling of being watched when standing near the water's edge. The presence is not always subtle. Some have claimed to see pale figures wading silently through the river or standing motionless on the banks, staring with eyes that seem to pierce the soul, vanishing when approached. Hikers describe the forest surrounding the falls as unusually quiet. Even when birds or rustling leaves should fill the air, many report an oppressive silence that settles heavily over the trails. Footsteps seem to echo across rocks and fallen logs, though no one else is present. Some say these phantom steps follow them for minutes, only to vanish when they turn to look. Shadowy shapes dart between trees or leap across cliffs, appearing for a brief moment before dissolving into the mist rising from the falls. Those who have spent hours exploring the area often leave with an unshakable impression that the forest itself is alive, aware of every intrusion. Kayakers and anglers along the White River have shared their own chilling experiences. Some describe seeing figures in the water, pale and indistinct, drifting just beneath the surface or standing motionless among the shallows. On foggy mornings, mist seems to swirl unnaturally around these figures, and when approached, the specters vanish, leaving the water calm as if nothing had been there. Others have heard whispered voices carried over the river, sometimes calling their names or speaking in a language long forgotten, echoing against the cliff faces in ways that defy explanation. The cliffs surrounding the falls also contribute to the haunting reputation. Hikers report sudden gusts of wind or shifting shadows near cliff edges, even when the air is still and sunlight illuminates the landscape. Some have claimed to see human-like figures leap from ledge to ledge, moving with impossible agility before disappearing into the fog. Others feel an intense vertigo or a sudden sense of vertigo when nearing the cliff tops, as though an unseen force is warning them away from certain areas. Even the soundscape of the falls has an unsettling quality. While the water's roar is constant, many visitors report additional noises that do not belong: faint drumbeats, low chanting, or cries that echo over the river. Some claim these sounds appear in sync with the movement of shadows or the sudden appearance of figures, suggesting an otherworldly presence tied to the landscape. Paranormal investigators who have spent nights at the falls report capturing unexplained audio on their recorders: moans, whispered names, and rustling that cannot be attributed to wind or wildlife. Several trails near the falls have acquired reputations as hotspots for these eerie encounters. Walkers along the riverbank often describe a sense of déjà vu, as if the path itself is repeating moments from the past. Hikers who stop to rest near the water sometimes feel invisible hands brushing against their skin, or see ripples moving across the river with no apparent cause. Campers nearby have reported waking to the sensation of cold breaths on their necks. The intensity of these experiences has led many to leave hurriedly, while a few thrill-seekers return, night after night, hoping to witness what cannot be explained. The history of the White River and its falls deepens the sense of unease. Archaeologists have found evidence of former settlements along the river, and local stories describe massacres, skirmishes, and betrayals that left lasting scars on the land. Paranormal enthusiasts speculate that these historical tragedies have imprinted themselves on the environment, creating what some call residual energy. In this context, the figures seen, wading in the water or leaping across cliffs, may not be conscious spirits, but echoes of past events, replaying their grief and fear for anyone sensitive enough to witness. Despite or perhaps because of these reports, the Falls of the White River continues to draw visitors. For some, to test their courage against the area's haunted reputation, cameras often capture inexplicable orbs of light, shadowy shapes, or blurred figures, reinforcing the stories passed down over generations. Those who linger too long often speak of leaving with more than memories, a lingering sense of being observed, an unexplained cold, or even the feeling of having brushed against a presence that was never truly part of the living world. Whether one believes in spirits or not, the Falls of the White River commands respect. Its combination of dramatic natural features, historical tragedy, and unexplained phenomena makes it one of Indiana's most mysterious natural sights. Every ripple in the water, every shadow among the trees, and every whisper carried on the wind seems to tell a story of loss, betrayal, and lingering souls. Visitors walk away with memories of stunning scenery, but those sensitive to the unseen may feel the weight of history pressing down, reminding them that the falls are not just a place of beauty, they are a place where the past refuses to remain buried. The falls of the White River remain a place where nature's majesty meets lingering tragedy. Shadows move where they should not, whispers float on the breeze, and the waters continue to roar over the cliffs, carrying secrets of those who came before. For anyone daring enough to explore its banks and trails, the park offers both breathtaking vistas and a haunting reminder that some spirits, bound by history and injustice, never truly rest. Mississauga Lake in Gas City, Indiana, is a place that outwardly appears serene, a wide, glimmering body of water surrounded by lush greenery, popular for boating, camping, and fishing. Families come to enjoy weekends in the outdoors, and the lake often reflects the calm skies above. Yet, beneath this beauty lies a story steeped in disturbance, tragedy, and lingering spiritual unrest. The waters and surrounding land are said to be haunted, and many who visit leave with an unease that no campfire or daylight can dispel. The origins of the hauntings trace back to the very creation of the lake itself. Mississauga Lake was formed in the 1960s as part of a flood control project, which required the deliberate flooding of large swaths of land. In doing so, multiple Native American burial grounds were disturbed, their sacred sites uprooted, their graves drowned beneath the rising waters. Locals say this act awakened the spirits who had long rested in the earth, unleashing them into a world that no longer honored their presence. For some, this is why the lake carries such a strange and unsettling atmosphere, a constant reminder of lives and traditions disrespected and lost. Campers who spend nights along the lake's edges often describe the environment changing without warning. The air, usually warm and filled with the sounds of crickets, can suddenly turn icy, leaving them shivering in midsummer. On still nights, some report hearing low guttural animal cries echoing through the trees. Yet, when they investigate, they find nothing living nearby. More unnerving are the reports of unseen hands moving objects around campsites. People have woken to find their lanterns placed far from where they were left, fishing poles resting in strange formations, or their tents unzipped though no one else was near. Hikers exploring the trails around the lake often recount being followed. They hear footsteps pacing just behind them, but when they turn, the path is empty. At times, they hear voices, low whispers carried by the wind, yet the words are indistinct, impossible to understand. One family reported hearing their own names whispered clearly, though no one else was within miles. Paranormal investigators have taken recordings in the area and claim to have captured EVPs, voices that murmur in lost languages, as though trying to speak through the veil of time. Many believe these to be the voices of Native American ancestors calling out from beneath the waters, demanding remembrance. The most chilling accounts are tied to the lake itself. As the sun dips below the horizon and dusk settles, several witnesses claim to have seen figures rise along the water's surface. They describe shadowy silhouettes of warriors, tall and imposing, standing in silence as though guarding the sacred land submerged below. These figures are said to drift across the lake, moving without ripples or sound, before fading back into the mist. One fisherman swore he saw a warrior kneeling in his canoe, bow drawn, before vanishing the moment he blinked. Another group claimed to watch a cluster of shadows marching in formation across the water's edge, only to dissolve like smoke when approached. Some tell of hearing drumming, faint but rhythmic, echoing across the lake late at night. The sound seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, and it has left visitors frozen with fear. The drumming often stops abruptly, followed by a suffocating silence that feels far heavier than ordinary quiet. For those who have heard it, the experience is unforgettably. Reminder that this is more than just a recreational site. It is a sacred ground that still pulses with history, Campers who dare to spend nights deep in the wooded areas near Mississauga Lake speak of dreams that feel more like visions. They recount being visited by strangers in their sleep, people clothed in traditional garments, staring silently as if demanding recognition. Some awaken to find impressions in the dirt around their tents' footprints, too large or oddly shaped to belong to any living creature. A few have even claimed to wake with scratches across their arms and legs, though their tents remained closed and unbroken. Despite these reports, many still flock to Mississauga Lake for its beauty. Yet those who have experienced its darker side often refuse to return. The stories pass quietly through local communities, spoken in hushed tones around diners and gas stations, as though acknowledging the spirits too loudly may draw them near. Too many, the lake is cursed not because of any malice from the spirits, but because of the disrespect shown to them when their burial grounds were flooded and forgotten. Mississauga stands today as both a place of recreation and a reminder of what happens when history is ignored. Beneath the calm surface lies a restless past, and the whispers, shadows, and apparitions seem to exist as warnings. Those who visit may enjoy the water by day, but when night falls and the air turns heavy, they quickly realize they are not alone. The spirits of Mississauga still walk the shoreline, still move across the water, and still call out in voices that cannot be silenced. Wabash State Park, nestled in Bluffton, Indiana, is a place where beauty and unease coexist. Known for its thick forests, winding trails, and peaceful picnic areas, the park is a favorite spot for hikers and families during the day. But once the sun sets and the woods are swallowed by darkness, the atmosphere changes. For decades, it has been whispered about as one of Indiana's most haunted stretches of land, where unseen presences walk beside the living and echoes of tragedy refuse to fade. Visitors often describe an uncanny feeling the moment they step onto the trails. Even in the stillness of summer, when the forest should be filled with the buzzing of insects and rustling leaves, sudden pockets of silence descend without warning. In those moments, many claim to hear the crunch of footsteps falling closely behind them. The sound is distinct, leaves and twigs breaking under steady strides. When they turn, the trail is empty. Some hikers admit to abandoning their walks altogether after the sensation became too overwhelming, certain they were not alone. One of the park's most chilling legends centers around the ghost of a child, said to have drowned in a hidden creek decades ago. The story varies depending on who tells it. Some say the boy was playing too close to the water while his family picnicked nearby, while others claim he slipped during a game of hide-and-seek and was swept away by the current. Regardless of the version, the child's spirit is believed to linger along the creek bed. Those who venture near often hear faint laughter drifting through the trees, out of place in the otherwise quiet wilderness. Hikers have even discovered tiny handprints pressed into the damp moss on rocks, as if a child had been scrambling along the bank only moments before. The abandoned picnic areas within Wabash have also become the focus of ghostly tales. During the day, they appear ordinary, with old tables scattered beneath towering trees. But by night, they take on a more sinister character. Campers passing through after dusk have reported hearing the unmistakable sounds of children playing high-pitched laughter, the rhythmic thump of a ball bouncing, and the patter of running feet. Yet when flashlights are shined across the grounds, the space remains empty, as if the unseen children carry with them the chill of the grave. Shadow figures are another recurring phenomenon within the park. They are most often spotted at a distance, standing just beyond the tree line, or slipping between the trunks as if watching from afar. These figures vanish whenever anyone attempts to approach them. Some describe them as tall and thin, others as small and childlike, but all agree that they move unnaturally fast, like smudges of darkness fleeing from the light. Paranormal investigators who have visited Wabash claim these shadows are the most difficult to document, appearing only briefly and never when expected. Sudden blasts of cold air are also a common occurrence, even on warm nights. Hikers walking along the trails describe moments when a frigid gust sweeps over them, chilling their skin and leaving goosebumps in its wake. What unnerves many is that the trees remain still. During these moments, there is no natural wind. only an inexplicable drop in temperature. These icy bursts are sometimes accompanied by the sensation of being touched. Some visitors recall feeling a tug at their clothing, while others swear a small hand pressed briefly into theirs before vanishing into thin air. For those sensitive to atmosphere, Wabash State Park can feel oppressive after dark. The thick canopy of trees allows little moonlight to filter through, and the sound of the creek rushing through the gorge becomes a constant whisper in the background. It is easy to understand why so many people believe the boundary between the living and the dead is thinner here. Locals often warn newcomers not to wander too far off the trails at night, not just for safety, but because the park's spirits are said to grow restless with trespassers. Patoka Lake in southern Indiana is celebrated for its beauty, a wide stretch of water surrounded by dense woods and winding trails that make it a popular retreat for campers, fishermen, and nature enthusiasts. By day, it seems serene, its glassy surface reflecting the sky, broken only by the call of birds or the splash of fish. But when the sun sets, the lake takes on an entirely different identity. Generations of locals and visitors alike have shared ghost stories tied to its shores, tales that suggest the water carries more than just fish beneath its depths. The most persistent legend is that of phantom boats. Fishermen drifting late at night have reported seeing vessels gliding across the surface, eerily silent, with no oars dipping into the water and no engines humming. Sometimes, the outlines of these boats are crisped against the moonlit lake, yet as one attempts to approach, the image fades like mist and disappears completely. A few insist they have even seen figures seated within these spectral crafts still, unmoving silhouettes that watch silently before vanishing without a sound. For those who have witnessed it, the sight is unsettling enough to make them avoid night fishing altogether. Campers also share chilling experiences. Several have spoken of being woken in the middle of the night to the sound of children crying, the noise carrying across the lake from nearby islands. When investigated, no children are ever found, and those islands often turn out to be completely deserted. One family claimed they followed the sound of the cries down to the shoreline, where the water rippled as if something had just submerged. They waited in horror as the cries slowly faded, replaced by silence so heavy it seemed to press against their chests. Others have said the cries echo like whispers just behind their ears, impossible to pinpoint, almost as though the voices come from the air itself. Perhaps most unnerving are the reports of shadow figures near the old dam and along wooded trails. These apparitions appear as tall, human-shaped forms, darker than the night around them. Hikers have spotted them watching from the tree line or standing on the rocks near the water's edge, only to dissolve when approached. Paranormal investigators describe the shadows as moving with unnatural speed, sometimes flickering from one place to another like distorted reflections. One group claimed that while conducting an investigation near the dam, their thermal cameras captured a large, human-shaped form standing in front of them, yet nothing was visible to the naked eye. When they played back the footage, the shadow seemed to stretch and vanish into the water. Sudden cold spots are another common occurrence. Even in the peak of summer, visitors often describe areas where the air abruptly chills, the temperature dropping so quickly it feels like stepping into another world. One hiker recounted how his breath became visible while walking the trails at dusk, the frost hanging in the air though the evening was warm. Seconds later, he heard heavy footsteps behind him, crunching leaves in perfect rhythm with his own. When he turned, the trail was empty. The lake's eerie energy is said to peak during full moons, when its surface glows with an otherworldly shimmer. Locals say that on these nights, the boundary between worlds feels thinner. Campers have witnessed ghostly figures moving across the water, as though caught between realms, their shapes warping in the pale light. Some believe the lake was built over ancient burial grounds, or that lives lost to accidents during its creation have left restless spirits behind. Others think the water itself has become a vessel for trapped energy, storing grief and tragedy from generations past. Paranormal teams who have studied Patoka Lake report spikes of electromagnetic activity along the shoreline and unexplained voices captured on EVP recordings. One recording contained the faint sound of someone whispering, "Stay away," followed by the splash of water. Though no one was near the lake at the time, another captured a child's voice calling for mother, echoing faintly before dissolving into static. Despite its haunted reputation, Patoka Lake continues to draw visitors who find its beauty irresistible. For some, the stories add a thrill to their camping trips, a chance to walk the fine line between natural wonder and supernatural mystery. But for others, the encounters are all too real, reminders that beneath the surface of the calm waters may rest something eternal, something unwilling or unable to move on. As the mist rolls across the lake at night and the woods fall silent, one cannot help but wonder if the shadows by the water's edge are just tricks of the moonlight, or echoes of souls bound forever to Patoka's depths. Turkey Run State Park in Marshall, Indiana, is celebrated for its sandstone gorges, towering cliffs, and lush, winding trails that draw nature lovers year-round. Yet, behind the postcard-perfect beauty, the park has earned a reputation as one of Indiana's most haunted natural spaces. Visitors often describe the land as alive with more than just wildlife. Whispers carried on the wind, dark figures glimpsed in the shadows, and sudden chills in secluded ravines have all been reported, creating a chilling counterpoint to the park's rugged charm. The sandstone gorges are the heart of Turkey Run's mystique. Formed over thousands of years by glacial meltwaters, these natural corridors amplify sound, making footsteps and whispers echo in unsettling ways. Hikers claim that while navigating these narrow passages, they sometimes hear voices whispering from the forest, soft, indistinct, and often calling their names. Many describe the sound as coming from just behind them, though no one is ever there. This phenomenon has been so common that some paranormal researchers suggest the gorges themselves act as a kind of amplifier for residual energy, trapping and replaying the voices of those who once walked the land. Adding to the park as haunted lore are the tales of early settlers who struggled to survive the region's harsh winters. Turkey Run's rugged terrain provided both shelter and peril. It is said that families who became lost in the labyrinth of ravines sometimes never made it out. Legends tell of entire groups who succumbed to the elements, their spirits left wandering the sandstone cliffs. Visitors today often report seeing figures dressed in old-fashioned clothing standing at the edges of cliffs or peering down from rocky outcrops. When approached, these figures vanish into thin air, leaving behind only the sound of crunching leaves or a faint laugh echoing through the gorge. The cliffs themselves seem to harbor a strange energy. Some hikers recall feeling a sudden pressure, almost as if unseen hands were pushing them toward the edge. Others describe being overcome with a wave of dizziness or dread while standing near high overlooks. In several documented cases, visitors reported feeling touch light brushes against their arms or the distinct sensation of fingers tapping their shoulders, only to find themselves entirely alone. These ghostly touches are often accompanied by a sudden drop in temperature, even on warm summer days. One of the park's most enduring ghost stories centers around a child said to have perished while playing near one of the park's creeks. According to legend, the child slipped on wet rocks and drowned in the rushing water. Though no official records confirm the incident, hikers claim to hear the sound of children's laughter near abandoned picnic areas or along the banks of hidden creeks. Tiny handprints, sometimes smeared in mud or appearing inexplicably on rocks, have been reported by campers who stumble upon these sites. For many, the laughter is the most unsettling detail, cheerful and playful, yet echoing from an empty gorge where no children are present. Nighttime in Turkey Run brings its own unique unease. Campers speak of shadowy figures moving silently among the trees, too tall and quick to be mistaken for deer. Some describe seeing dark shapes dart across trails just ahead of their lantern light, only to disappear when followed. In certain areas, the woods fall eerily silent, no insects, no rustling leaves, just a stillness heavy enough to unnerve even seasoned hikers. Those who have braved overnight stays tell of waking to whispers outside their tents or the distinct feeling of being watched from the tree line. Paranormal investigators have been drawn to the park for years, fascinated by the convergence of natural acoustics, history, and folklore. Teams equipped with recorders have captured unexplained voices, some calling names, others muttering in fragmented sentences that seem to belong to another time. One group reported hearing what sounded like prayers in German, possibly connected to immigrant families who once settled the region. Another captured faint laughter, followed by a splash, eerily reminiscent of the drowned child legend. Local folklore also ties some of the hauntings to conflicts between settlers and native tribes who once inhabited the area. The park's rugged landscape made it both a hunting ground and a battleground. Some believe that the restless spirits of those who lost their lives here still roam the gorges, guarding their land or reenacting moments of their final days. Visitors have reported sudden chills while walking through certain ravines, describing the sensation as a warning not to continue. Despite its eerie reputation, Turkey Run State Park remains a beloved destination, its supernatural tales only adding to the intrigue. For some, the stories are just folklore, easily explained by echoes, shadows, and the mind's tendency to play tricks in an isolated wilderness. But for others, the experiences are too vivid to dismiss. Whether it's hearing their name whispered on a deserted trail, glimpsing a shadowy figure vanish into the trees, or feeling the chilling brush of unseen hands, many leave Turkey Run convinced that its beauty conceals something far more mysterious. In the end, Turkey Run State Park is both a natural wonder and a haunted landscape. Its sandstone cliffs, ancient forests, and winding ravines hold more than just geological history. They seem to hold memories of those who came before, etched into the very stone and soil. Visitors may arrive seeking scenic trails and breathtaking overlooks, but many depart with a lingering sense of the unseen, a feeling that the gorges remember and that the whispers in the forest are not just the wind. Clifty Creek Gorge in Madison, Indiana, is celebrated for its breathtaking cliffs, cascading waterfalls, and twisting trails that cut through layers of rugged stone. Beneath this natural beauty, however, lies a darker legacy that locals and visitors alike have whispered about for generations. The gorge's haunting reputation is tied to its turbulent past, its treacherous landscape, and the restless echoes of lives long since lost. Those who wander its paths often discover that the natural wonder is shadowed by something unseen, lingering in the depths of its rocky corridors. The gorge's history stretches back to the early 19th century, when settlers and laborers were drawn to the region by the promise of industry. Ironworks sprang up along the creek, fueled by the rushing waters and the abundance of natural resources. For decades, the gorge echoed with the clanging of hammers, the roar of furnaces, and the voices of men toiling in difficult and often dangerous conditions. Accidents were common, with stories of miners and workers who perished in collapses or drowned in sudden floods from the creek's unpredictable surges. It is said that many of their bodies were never recovered, their spirits tied forever to the gorge where they labored. Today, the gorge is quiet, save for the steady rush of water and the rustling of leaves. But those familiar with its past claim the dead are never truly silent. Hikers exploring Clifty Creek Gorge have often spoken of disembodied footsteps echoing across the rocky paths, as though someone is trailing just a few paces behind. When they turn, no one is there. These footsteps sometimes quicken, as if running, only to stop abruptly, leaving the living to wonder who or what might be chasing them through the gorge. Others have described strange whispers floating through the air, often carried on sudden, inexplicable gusts of cold wind. Even in the height of summer, when the sun bakes the stone walls, some hikers report feeling an icy chill wrapping around them, as though invisible hands were reaching out from the shadows. One of the most chilling accounts comes from the mist that often rises from Clifty Creek during cool mornings or damp evenings. Locals say the fog has a mind of its own, clinging low to the ground and forming strange shapes as it drifts along the gorge. Hikers have claimed that, just before sunrise or beneath the glow of a full moon, the mist takes on human forms, faces, and figures that watch silently before dispersing into the night air. Some believe these are the souls of miners lost to the gorge, their identities reduced to fleeting glimpses of vapor and shadow. Another enduring legend speaks of the watcher on the cliffs, Dozens of visitors over the years have reported seeing a figure standing motionless at the edge of the gorge, high above the trail. The shape is often described as tall and broad-shouldered, cloaked in shadow, watching from the heights. When approached, the figure disappears instantly, as though it had never been there at all. Some say this is the spirit of a foreman who oversaw the ironworks, a man who met a violent end when he slipped from the cliff edge into the churning waters below. His restless spirit, it is believed, now surveys the gorge, bound to the place of his death. Stranger still are the accounts of ghostly sounds rising above the creek itself. More than one group of hikers has claimed to hear the rhythmic clang of hammers, faint but steady, reverberating against the stone walls of the gorge. Others have reported voices carried on the windgruff, indistinct shouts like orders being given at a worksite. Paranormal investigators who have brought recording devices into the gorge say they have captured faint but undeniable electronic voice phenomena, including one chilling clip where a voice whispers, "Still working," just as the sound of rushing water surged louder in the background. For campers and visitors who remain near the gorge after sunset, the atmosphere takes on an especially eerie tone. Lanterns flicker without cause, campfires sputter and die suddenly, and shadows seem to move against the direction of the firelight. Some have even claimed to see glowing eyes, staring from the underbrush, vanishing the moment they are spotted. Wildlife is common in the park, yet many insist these encounters feel different, as though something otherworldly is watching with intent. One particularly unsettling tale involves a pair of hikers who strayed from the main trail near the gorge in the early 2000s. They reported feeling an overwhelming sense of dread as they descended toward the creek, followed by the sound of dozens of footsteps pacing in unison around them. Unable to see anyone else, they fled back to the main path, only to glance over their shoulders and swear they saw pale figures standing knee-deep in the water, staring silently as they disappeared into the mist. The hikers never returned to Cliffy Creek Gorge, convinced they had stumbled upon something beyond the realm of the living. Locals and ghost hunters alike continue to explore the gorge, drawn to its blend of natural majesty and spectral legend. For some, the supernatural tales are simply stories passed down to explain the strange sensations one feels in such a wild and imposing place. For others, however, the evidence of ghostly presences is too strong to dismiss. Whether it is the restless energy of lost miners, the echoes of industry long abandoned, or something even older hidden in the gorge's depths, Clifty Creek has earned its reputation as one of Indiana's most haunted natural landmarks. Even today, those who venture into the gorge at twilight often pause at the sound of a stone tumbling down a path, a whisper brushing past their ear, or the shape of a figure lingering in the mist. Clifty Creek Gorge is a place where history refuses to rest quietly, where the land itself seems to remember the struggles and tragedies of those who once worked and died there. To walk its trails is to step not only into the beauty of Indiana's natural wilderness, but also into the uneasy company of shadows that may never leave. Shade State Park in Waveland, Indiana, is celebrated for its breathtaking ravines, towering cliffs, and untouched woodlands, but beneath its natural beauty lies an unsettling reputation. For decades, hikers and campers have whispered about the park's strange atmosphere, where silence often feels alive and shadows move as though carrying secrets of the past. The steep trails and thick canopy create an environment where sound distorts and time feels disjointed. And it's in these conditions that countless reports of paranormal activity have emerged. Locals believe that the rugged land holds more than just history. It holds the spirits of those who never left. Many visitors describe hearing soft whispers carried through the trees, though no one is nearby. These voices seem to weave in and out of the forest, sometimes calling faintly as if guiding lost travelers. On certain nights, the whispers grow louder, forming indistinct words that vanish when hikers stop to listen. Others have claimed to hear footsteps trailing close behind them on isolated trails, only to find that they are alone. The echoes of movement, as if someone invisible were matching their pace, add to the uneasy feeling that the park is never truly empty. The park's ravines are particularly notorious for unexplained phenomena. Sharp cries are said to echo from the cliffsides, chilling voices that sound almost human, yet never seem to come from a visible source. These cries, often described as wails or desperate shouts, carry down the natural amphitheaters of the gorge, leaving hikers frozen in place. Some visitors suggest they could be the echoes of settlers who once crossed the land and met their end in accidents or harsh weather, their spirits calling out from the stone walls that now hold their voices forever. Adding to the strange encounters are reports of flickering lights that appear without explanation. Campers describe flashes of pale blue or white light, dancing along the cliffs or hovering low in the woods, glowing briefly before vanishing. These lights are rarely stationary, often darting across the horizon or weaving between trees. Folklore suggests they are lanterns of long-lost travelers, spirits attempting to find their way home. Paranormal investigators who have camped in the park claim the lights intensify around midnight, particularly during the colder months when mist rises from the ravines and the forest feels otherworldly. Shadow figures are perhaps the most unsettling of all the apparitions seen in Hoosier State Park. Hikers walking alone often spot dark shapes standing at the periphery of their vision, lingering at the edges of trails. Some appear as tall, human-like silhouettes, unmoving and silent. Others dart quickly between trees, vanishing the moment they are looked at directly. Witnesses describe the overwhelming sense of being watched, as though these figures are not only present but aware of the living. The shadows seem especially concentrated near the Devil's Punch Bowl, a steep and secluded ravine where accidents and falls have been recorded over the years. Local folklore ties these experiences to travelers who once became lost in the park. Before it was officially protected, the dense forest and maze-like ravines were perilous, especially to those unfamiliar with the land. Tales speak of pioneers and hunters who vanished without a trace, their remains never recovered. It is said their spirits linger still, caught between guiding newcomers to safety and drawing them deeper into the wilderness. Some visitors who claim to have felt a sudden urge to wander off-trail believe they were being led by these lost souls, while others who have turned back insist they narrowly avoided being lured into danger. Temperature drops are another frequent phenomenon. Campers have reported sudden blasts of icy air rushing through their tents or sweeping over trails, even on warm summer nights. These cold spots are often accompanied by feelings of dread, as though someone unseen has stepped into the space beside them. One group of hikers recounted feeling an invisible hand brush against their shoulders as they paused to rest, sending them fleeing back to the trailhead before nightfall. The combination of natural beauty and paranormal lore gives Hoosier State Park a haunting character. Its gorges and ravines seem almost designed to amplify strange noises, while its dense trees create pockets of darkness where imagination or something much older stirs. To some, the park's legends are part of its allure, a place where Indiana's wilderness intertwines with mystery. To others, the unsettling sensations and unexplained encounters are proof that certain places hold memories stronger than stone and water. Memories that refuse to fade, whether it is the whispers of unseen travelers, cries from the cliffs, or the looming presence of shadow figures. Hoosier State Park carries an atmosphere unlike any other. Those who walk its trails often leave with more than just photographs. They leave with a story, a lingering chill, and a sense that the forest itself is alive with ghosts of the past. The deeper one ventures, the stronger the feeling becomes that something is watching, waiting, and perhaps remembering every step that echoes in its haunted ravines. Raccoon Lake, located in the heart of central Indiana, is a place of natural beauty that draws countless visitors each year for its serene waters, wooded trails, and peaceful atmosphere. But beneath this idyllic setting lies a much darker side, one steeped in eerie tales and unsettling encounters that have persisted for generations. By day, the lake glimmers in the sunlight, surrounded by families picnicking and fishermen casting their lines. Yet when night falls, an almost tangible shift occurs. The quiet waters seem to take on a haunting stillness, and those who venture near often speak of strange sounds, ghostly apparitions, and inexplicable chills that defy any rational explanation. One of the most common experiences reported at Raccoon Lake is the sound of ghostly paddles cutting through the water in the dead of night. Campers and late-night wanderers often describe hearing the rhythmic splash of oars striking the lake, as if a canoe or rowboat were gliding across the surface. When they peer into the darkness, however, there is no boat to be seen. The sounds persist, steady, deliberate, and haunting, sometimes growing louder, only to suddenly cease, as if swallowed by the stillness of the night. Some believe these spectral sounds belong to the spirits of those who drowned in the lake decades ago, forever cursed to relive their final moments afloat in phantom vessels that no longer exist in the physical world. Mist is a near-constant companion to the lake, especially at dawn and dusk. While fog rising from the waters is a natural occurrence, visitors insist that the mist at Raccoon Lake is different, often forming into vague human-like shapes that appear to drift along the shoreline. Several hikers have recounted seeing these ethereal figures standing silently at the water's edge, only for them to dissolve into the fog when approached. The unsettling consistency of these stories has made mist at the lake an omen of sorts whenever it clings to the surface. Some believe the spirits are restless and watching. Cold spots are another phenomenon frequently reported here. Campers sitting around fires have suddenly felt bone-chilling gusts sweep through the campsite, even on warm summer nights when no wind is present. These pockets of cold air seem to move with intention, sometimes circling groups of people or settling directly behind an unsuspecting visitor. Many describe the sensation as if an unseen presence were standing directly beside them, emanating an icy aura. The lingering trace of restless souls tied to the waters. The lake has a history of tragedy, much of it linked to accidental drownings. Over the years, several lives have been claimed by the deceptively calm waters. Swimmers have been caught in hidden currents, fishermen swept under by sudden shifts, and boaters lost in unexpected storms. Locals whispered that not all of those lost ever truly left. Some nights, passers-by claimed to see ghostly figures moving along the shoreline, their outlines barely visible in the moonlight. They often vanish without a sound, leaving only ripples across the water, or the soft echo of footsteps that fade into silence. Perhaps the most unsettling encounters involve the reports of phantom boats. Fishermen have described seeing small crafts drifting silently across the lake, lantern light glowing faintly on board. When they row closer, the boat vanishes entirely, leaving the water undisturbed. On rare occasions, multiple witnesses have confirmed seeing the same apparition, lending weight to the belief that it is not mere imagination, but something far stranger. Some speculate these ghostly vessels belong to spirits searching for safe passage, forever bound to the lake that claimed them. Local folklore adds another chilling layer to Raccoon Lake's reputation. One enduring tale tells of a young couple who disappeared while boating on the lake in the early 20th century. Their canoe was found overturned near the shoreline, but their bodies were never recovered. Since then, numerous visitors have reported seeing two shadowy figures standing together on the banks during moonlit nights, hand in hand, staring out over the water as if still waiting to be found. Their story has become something of a legend in the area, with many believing that they remain tethered to the lake, forever seeking closure. Even those who come to the park without knowledge of its haunted reputation often leave with strange stories. Families camping near the water recount hearing faint voices carried across the lake, the sound of laughter or conversation, even when no one else is nearby. Others claim to have seen ripples forming in perfectly still waters, as if something or someone were swimming just beneath the surface. For many, these moments are fleeting, a brush with the unknown that leaves them unsettled but unwilling to dismiss the possibility that something supernatural lingers in the area. While skeptics dismiss the stories as tricks of the mind or the natural quirks of the environment, the sheer number of similar experiences reported over the years has solidified Raccoon Lake as one of Indiana's eeriest natural sites. Whether it is the spirits of the drowned, echoes of past tragedies, or simply the powerful effect of the lake's atmosphere on the human imagination, one thing is certain: Raccoon Lake holds an energy that cannot be easily explained away. By daylight, it is a place of beauty, where families swim and boaters drift across the calm waters without concern. But as night falls and the mist gathers, entirely a realm where the veil between the living and the dead feels perilously thin, where unseen paddles strike the water, and where shadows linger on the shoreline, watching, waiting, and reminding all who visit that some stories never truly end. McCormick's Creek Canyon in Spencer, Indiana, is a place where natural beauty collides with unsettling mystery. Its rugged cliffs, winding trails, and cascading waterfalls draw countless visitors each year. Yet beneath the serenity of its landscapes, stories persist of strange encounters, eerie noises, and restless spirits that refuse to leave the canyon's rocky embrace. It is not only Indiana's oldest state park, but also one of its most haunted natural areas, where hikers, campers, and explorers often find themselves gripped by an unshakable sense of being watched. The canyon itself seems designed to amplify mystery. Sheer rock walls rise high above the creek, creating echo chambers that distort even the faintest sounds. A distant cough or crunch of gravel can bounce back tenfold, making it difficult to determine whether the source is natural or spectral. Many visitors have reported hearing footsteps trailing them along narrow ledges, always at the same distance behind. Yet when they turn, there is no one there. These phantom steps seem especially common near the waterfalls, where the roar of rushing water provides cover for the disembodied presence. One of the most chilling legends tied to McCormick's Creek involves the caves scattered throughout the park. While spelunkers are often drawn to explore the dark passages, many come away with experiences they cannot explain. Some have described the sensation of icy hands brushing against their arms in the pitch black. Others report faint screams echoing from the depths of the rock, as though people long trapped within the earth are still struggling to escape. A handful of visitors even claim to have seen faces forming in the stone itself, ghostly visages staring out from the jagged walls, their expressions frozen in anguish before dissolving back into rock. Whispers are another recurring phenomenon. Countless hikers recall hearing hushed voices that follow them from one ledge to another, weaving through the trees and bouncing off the canyon walls. The voices are never distinct enough to form words, yet they carry with them a clear emotional tone, sometimes urgent, sometimes mournful, and sometimes eerily playful, like unseen children calling in the dark. These whispers are said to be strongest during twilight hours, when the sun slips low and the canyon plunges into shadow long before the forest above. Some of the supernatural activity has been linked to the park's tragic history. In its early years, long before becoming a state park, the canyon was a rugged and dangerous place for settlers and travelers. Accidents were common, with people falling from cliffs or being swept away by sudden floods. There are tales of workers who lost their lives while quarrying stone in the area, their spirits now bound to the place where they perished. Hikers who stray near the old quarry sites often report overwhelming feelings of dread, as though surrounded by invisible eyes. Campers, too, have shared chilling experiences. Cold spots seem to descend out of nowhere, even on the warmest nights, leaving people shivering beside their campfires. Shadowy forms are often spotted flitting between the trees just outside the glow of lantern light. These figures vanish the instant anyone dares to approach, but their presence is unmistakable. Some campers even wake in the middle of the night to the sound of heavy breathing near their tents. One particularly unsettling tale comes from a group of night hikers who ventured deep into the canyon in search of the waterfalls. As they approached, they reported hearing laughter echoing through the gorge, childlike and carefree, but with an edge that didn't feel quite human. The laughter continued to circle them, always just out of sight, until the group fled back toward the trailhead. When they looked back, they swore they saw a mist rising from the canyon floor, shifting and twisting into the shape of small figures before dissolving into the night. The waterfalls themselves are said to harbor their own energy. Some visitors standing near the cascades claim to feel sudden pushes, as though unseen hands are attempting to drive them into the rushing water. Others speak of fleeting glimpses of pale faces within the spray, their eyes wide with silent screams before vanishing into mist. Perhaps the most unnerving encounters, however, come from those who venture off The canyon's labyrinth of ravines and hidden clearings creates a disorienting environment, and some hikers have reported becoming lost for hours even on familiar routes. In these moments, strange phenomena, often intensified lights flickering between the trees, whispers that seem to guide them deeper rather than out, and an overwhelming sense of being herded. A few who eventually found their way back swore that something was intentionally trying to keep them in the canyon, as if the spirits there were unwilling to let them leave. Despite its reputation, McCormick's Creek Canyon remains a beloved destination. Families picnic near its streams, adventurers climb its rugged trails, and countless photographers capture its raw beauty. Yet even those who come for the scenery often leave with a lingering feeling that the canyon holds more than just natural wonders. Its shadows seem thicker than elsewhere, its echoes more alive, and its silence heavier with unseen presence. For some, the hauntings are simply folklore carried on the wind. For others, they are undeniable experiences that change the way they see the land forever. McCormick's Creek Canyon is more than a state park. It is a place where history, tragedy, and the supernatural intertwine, leaving behind an atmosphere that is both breathtaking and deeply unsettling. To walk its trails is to step into a realm where beauty and fear coexist, and where every whisper in the trees may not be just the wind. The Salamone River Woods in Huntington, Indiana, is a place where history, nature, and the supernatural converge. Thick forests line the winding riverbanks, their dense canopies creating long corridors of shadow that can feel oppressive after dark. By day, it is a peaceful retreat for hikers, campers, and bird. But once the sun sets, the woods transform into a landscape filled with whispers of the past. Generations of visitors have come away with unsettling stories, convinced that the forest still holds the spirits of those who once called this land home. Long before European settlers arrived, the area around the Salamone River was inhabited by Native American tribes. These people lived and hunted in the region, treating the river and the surrounding woods as sacred. It was not just a place of survival, but also of ceremony, tradition, and burial. When settlers moved into the region in the early 1800s, conflicts inevitably arose. The forests became sites of tension and bloodshed, and many believe that the uneasy history has left an imprint on the land, trapping the spirits of both native inhabitants and settlers who perished here. Visitors frequently describe hearing rustling sounds in the underbrush when no animals are visible, as though someone or something were walking just out of sight. Hikers often report footsteps pacing behind them on narrow trails, only to turn and find the path empty. These experiences are unnerving enough in daylight, but they become almost unbearable when night falls. The darkness of the woods is nearly absolute, broken only by the glint of moonlight on the river. To walk the trails after sunset is to feel watched from all directions, every step accompanied by the prickling sensation of unseen eyes. One of the most common reports comes from campers who stay overnight near the riverbank. Many have claimed to hear mournful cries rising from the water itself, as if unseen figures are calling out from beneath the current. Some describe the sounds as wailing, others as whispers carried on the breeze, but all agree that they leave behind a deep sense of sorrow. Local legend ties these cries to the spirits of Native Americans who were forced from their homeland, their anguish forever echoing along the river. Others believe the cries could belong to settlers who drowned while attempting to cross the river during floods, their souls doomed to wander the water's edge. Shadowy forms are also said to move through the Salamone River woods, often appearing on trails or darting between trees before vanishing into the underbrush. Witnesses describe these shapes as distinctly human, but lacking features, little more than black silhouettes in motion. Hunters and fishermen have told of watching figures cross paths just ahead of them, only to find nothing when they rush forward. Some speculate that these are the restless spirits of those who lost their lives in violent conflict, forever replaying their final movements. The woods carry another eerie phenomenon, sudden cold spots that descend without explanation. Campers have reported sitting around a fire, only to feel an icy chill pass through the group, strong enough to make them shiver despite the flames. Others walking the trails at night describe moments when the air seems to freeze around them, their breath visible even in summer months. Paranormal investigators who have visited the Salamone River woods believe these cold spots may mark the presence of lingering entities, or even areas where past tragedies unfolded. Some of the most unsettling experiences come from those who explore deeper into the forest. A few hikers claim to have heard chanting or drumming faintly echoing through the trees, sounds that vanish the moment they stop to listen closely. Others report seeing small lights bobbing between the trees, reminiscent of lanterns or torches carried by unseen hands. These lights are often described as leading deeper into the woods, almost luring the observer off the trail. Those who follow them rarely find anything, and many feel disoriented afterward, as though the forest itself had tried to lead them astray. Perhaps the most chilling legend tied to the Salamone River woods involves the story of a settler family who disappeared in the 19th century. According to folklore, they had built a small cabin deep in the woods, away from the main settlement. One winter, neighbors went to check on them and found the cabin abandoned, the fireplace still smoldering, and food on the table. The family was never seen again. Some believe their spirits remain in the woods, wandering endlessly in search of their lost home. People camping in remote areas of the forest claim to hear the faint sound of children's laughter, or see flickers of movement resembling a woman in a long dress, only for the figure to vanish when approached. To this day, the Salamone River woods carries an atmosphere that unsettles even seasoned outdoorsmen. The sounds of footsteps, cries by the river, shadowy silhouettes, and strange lights have turned it into a place where the living cannot escape the presence of the dead. Whether these phenomena are echoes of history, manifestations of restless spirits, or simply tricks of nature amplified by imagination, the result is the same. Few leave the woods without feeling that something unseen lingers among the trees. Harmony State Park, tucked into the rolling hills of southwestern Indiana, presents a landscape of serene beauty by day, with towering trees, meandering trails, and peaceful meadows. But beneath this calm exterior lies a history steeped in hardship, loss, and eerie tales that have been passed down through generations. Locals speak in hushed tones about the park's haunted reputation, claiming that the land carries echoes of the past, leaving visitors with chilling encounters that are impossible to ignore. The history of Harmony State Park is layered, though much of it has faded with time. Long before modern recreation areas were established, the region was traversed by Native Americans, early settlers, and pioneers seeking to carve a life from the rugged hills. Conflicts, disease, and accidents were common, and many perished far from home. Paranormal enthusiasts believe that the spirits of those who died under tragic or violent circumstances have left an indelible mark on the land, lingering in the forests and clearings long after their physical presence has vanished. Hikers and campers report a host of strange phenomena within the park. One of the most common experiences involves hearing the sound of chains dragging across forest trails, often at night when no one is in sight. Some explorers describe it as the clinking of shackles, followed by the sensation of being watched. The sound is sudden and inexplicable, appearing to move along the path, as if an invisible presence is pacing behind them. The auditory encounters are often accompanied by a cold, heavy air, as if the forest itself exhales a chill directly at the intruder. Shadow figures are another frequent occurrence in Harmony State Park. Visitors have seen dark, human-like silhouettes standing along ridges near old rock formations or at the edges of dense woodland. These figures rarely move quickly, yet the instant one attempts to approach, they vanish into the trees or dissolve into the darkness. Many hikers report a sensation of being followed, hearing footsteps or rustling leaves behind them, only to turn and see nothing. Some even claim to catch glimpses of faces or glowing eyes in the shadows before the apparition disappears entirely. Whispers are a persistent and unsettling feature reported by those who explore the park. Unlike the rustle of wind through leaves or distant animal calls, these murmurs often resemble human speech. Visitors claim to hear soft voices calling their names, muttering unintelligible phrases, or murmuring pleas for help. In some cases, these whispers seem to originate from empty clearings, deep in the forest, where no one has been for miles. Many believe these are echoes of long-forgotten conversations, tragedies, or prayers of the dead, trapped in the atmosphere, like a recording played on a loop for anyone sensitive enough to hear. Some areas of Harmony State Park are known for sudden, inexplicable cold spots. Walkers have reported stepping into an area where the temperature drops sharply, even on warm summer evenings. The chill is often accompanied by dizziness or a sudden sense of disorientation, making it difficult to navigate or continue along the trail. Paranormal investigators suggest that these cold spots may indicate a strong presence of residual energy, perhaps connected to events of the past, where lives were lost or hardship was endured. Among the most chilling legends associated with the park is that of a young family who vanished while traveling the wooded hills in the early 1900s. According to local lore, hikers found remnants of their campfire still smoldering, food left uneaten, and their belongings scattered among the trees. Despite extensive searches, the family was never found, and some believe their spirits continued to wander the ridges and meadows, invisible but watching, retracing their final steps for eternity. People camping near the areas where the fire was found have reported hearing faint laughter, soft crying, and the feeling of being touched by unseen hands, reinforcing the story that the family's spirits have never left the park. Other visitors recount seeing lights bobbing through the woods, tiny orbs that float at mid-height, weaving through trees or hovering near rock outcropping. Some describe them as lantern-like glows, others as small firefly-like spheres, moving with purpose. When approached, these lights vanish instantly. Many believe they are manifestations of lost souls trying to guide, warn, or perhaps lure the living deeper into the forest, keeping the mysteries of Harmony hidden from casual explorers. Even in broad daylight, the atmosphere of the park can turn ominous. Hikers describe moments when the woods feel unnaturally silent, the usual sounds of birds, insects, and rustling leaves falling away. During these periods, shadowy forms seem to linger longer, whispers grow clearer, and the sense of being watched intensifies. Some adventurers have turned back entirely, unable to shake the feeling that the park remembers those who once walked its trails and that it does not welcome intruders lightly. Whether it is the dragging chains, shadowy figures, whispers, sudden chills, or mysterious lights, Harmony State Park has cemented its reputation as a place where the natural and the supernatural converge. For those who venture into the rolling hills and dense forests, the park offers more than just scenic beauty, offers a glimpse into a world where the past is never truly gone, and where the spirits of those who once inhabited the land continue to linger, waiting for the living to notice their presence. The Tippecanoe River bottoms, stretching through the lowlands of northern Indiana, is a landscape of quiet beauty by day, with winding waterways, dense foliage, and fertile banks teeming with wildlife. Yet beneath this pastoral charm lies a history woven with conflict, displacement, and hardship, leaving behind a lingering, almost palpable sense of the past. Many who venture into these wetlands at dusk or after dark report experiences that defy logical explanation, encounters that hint at the supernatural and the spirits of those long gone. Historically, the Tippecanoe River served as both a lifeline and a battleground. Native American tribes once relied on the river for sustenance and travel, creating villages along its banks. Later, settlers and pioneers established small communities in the area, carving farmland from the lowlands. But the river has also been a site of strife and tragedy. Skirmishes, disease, and untimely deaths occurred along its course, and it is believed that the souls of those who perished under violent or sudden circumstances have not fully departed. Today, these energies seem to linger in the river's foggy evenings, manifesting in unsettling ways for those attuned to the unknown. Canoeists frequently report hearing cries echoing across the water, distant and mournful, with no visible source. Some claim the sounds are human. Others suggest the voices carry an unfamiliar cadence, perhaps remnants of a language spoken centuries ago by the native tribes who once inhabited the land. Even when paddling alone, Visitors describe feeling a presence just beyond the water's edge, as if the river itself watches them, heavy with history and sorrow. The cries often rise and fall unpredictably, vanishing when approached, leaving only an echoing silence that deepens the unease. Shadow figures are another common phenomenon along the Tippecanoe River bottoms. Hikers and fishermen have spotted dark silhouettes drifting along the banks or standing motionless among the reeds. These figures are seldom identifiable, but are often human in shape, sometimes appearing to peer toward intruders before slipping silently into the darkness. Some witnesses describe seeing multiple figures moving in formation, almost like a procession, vanishing when illuminated by a flashlight. The sightings are often accompanied by a sudden chill in the air, as if the spirits carry the cold weight of centuries with them. Ghostly lights are frequently reported along the river's surface. Witnesses describe flickering orbs or lantern-like glows hovering above the water, drifting slowly with the current. Many of these lights seem to appear near the sites of abandoned settlements or old homesteads long reclaimed by the river. Paranormal investigators suggest that these are manifestations of residual energy, echoes of lives that once thrived along the banks, replaying moments of everyday activity or moments of desperation for those who perished unexpectedly. Attempting to approach or touch these lights is often futile, as they vanish instantly, leaving observers both fascinated and unnerved. Visitors also report hearing footsteps when none should exist. The soft crunch of leaves or snapping of twigs often follows people through the dense undergrowth, yet when they turn, no one is visible. Some describe the footsteps as light, almost gliding, while others say they feel heavy, as though someone or something is intentionally following. These encounters often occur near abandoned cabins or long-forgotten farmland, where the energy seems particularly dense. Campers recount waking to find the sounds of movement around their tents, yet the surroundings remain undisturbed, and no footprints are left in the muddy banks. Paranormal teams have documented other phenomena along the river as well. EVP recordings frequently capture faint whispering voices, sometimes calling out names, sometimes speaking in the unfamiliar cadence of a long-extinct dialect. Many explorers also report sudden drops in temperature, unexplained gusts of wind, or the sensation of being touched by unseen hands. Some even describe feeling pulled or guided along the riverbanks, as if the spirits are attempting to lead them to locations of significance from the past abandoned dwellings, burial mounds, or sites of historical conflict. Local folklore adds a further layer of unease to the Tippecanoe River bottoms. Stories tell of lost travelers who vanished without a trace, drowned fishermen whose bodies were never recovered, and children who wandered too far from riverside villages. Hikers have reported seeing fleeting glimpses of these individuals, often at twilight, moving along paths now overgrown, vanishing when approached. Shadowy figures along the river sometimes appear to mimic the movements of the living, creating a disorienting sense that the past and present are converging. Even in the light of day, the Tippecanoe River bottoms carries an unsettling energy. Dense fog rising from the water can take on strange shapes, and reflections in the river sometimes appear distorted, showing forms that vanish when looked at directly. Wildlife behaves unusually in certain areas, with birds and small animals avoiding paths that feel heavy with unseen presence. For those sensitive to these energies, the park's lowlands are more than just a natural landscape. They are a place where the echoes of history and loss are tangible, where every rustle of leaves or distant splash might carry the imprint of a soul not yet at rest. Exploring the Tippecanoe River bottoms is an experience that blends awe with unease. The natural beauty of the river and its surrounding wetlands is undeniable. But beneath that beauty lies centuries of sorrow, conflict, and lingering spirits. Whether it is the cries across the water, the shadowy figures along the banks, the mysterious lights, or the whispers of forgotten tongues, and some spirits never leave. Those who enter the Tippecanoe River bottoms may find themselves touched by the past in ways they could never have anticipated, leaving an indelible impression long after they return to the ordinary world. Turkey Creek Ravine, tucked deep within southern Indiana's rolling hills, is a landscape of rugged beauty that conceals an unsettling history. The area is a labyrinth of steep cliffs, twisting trails, and dense forest, creating a sense of isolation that intensifies as dusk approaches. While hikers come for the scenic views and the sound of the creek tumbling over rocks, many leave with stories that hint at something far more sinister lurking within the ravine. Locals have long whispered of a tragic accident that occurred decades ago, when a group of explorers vanished while navigating the steep cliffs and narrow canyon. The event left a scar on the land itself, and today, some believe the spirits of those lost still linger, trapped between worlds. Visitors often describe the sensation of being followed, feeling cold gusts of wind on their necks or the brush of unseen hands along their shoulders, even in areas where the air is still and calm. One of the most frequently reported phenomena is the appearance of ghostly figures moving among the trees and cliffs. Witnesses describe humanoid shapes darting between trunks, sometimes standing motionless on cliff edges before vanishing into the shadows. Some hikers claim to see figures in period clothing, as if replaying moments from the ravine's long-forgotten past. These apparitions are seldom threatening, but exude an aura of sorrow, as if mourning their own lost lives or the tragedies that unfolded around them. Disembodied voices are another hallmark of Turkey Creek Ravine. Hikers report hearing whispers carried on the wind, faint conversations that vanish when approached, or cries echoing across the canyon that seem impossibly close yet have no source. Some describe the whispers as calling their names, while others hear warnings or pleas for help. The sounds are often accompanied by sudden, inexplicable drops in temperature, sending chills through anyone nearby. Even experienced campers and outdoor enthusiasts, accustomed to natural sounds, report feeling an otherworldly tension in these moments. The ravine's trails themselves seem to harbor a lingering energy. Footsteps, crunching leaves, and snapping twigs often follow hikers even when no one else is on the path. Some visitors recount looking over their shoulders repeatedly, only to see empty trailways stretching behind them. Others have felt a pressure against their back or the faint touch of fingers along their arms. Sensations that vanish when investigated. These tactile experiences leave many with a heightened awareness of the unseen, a feeling that the ravine itself is alive with memory and presence. Nighttime excursions reveal an even more chilling side of Turkey Creek Ravine. As darkness falls, hikers and campers report glowing orbs of light moving between the trees, appearing and disappearing without pattern. Some lights seem to float along the cliffs, hovering over the creek before fading into the night. Paranormal investigators suggest these are manifestations of residual energy, echoes of past tragedies imprinted onto the landscape. In some cases, the lights appear to follow individuals, only to vanish when approached, adding a layer of psychological unease to the physical isolation of the ravine. Certain spots within the ravine are repeatedly identified as hotspots for activity. Narrow ledges above the creek, dense clusters of old oak trees, and secluded clearings seem to hold a concentration of energy. Visitors often experience sudden dizziness, cold sweats, or feelings of nausea when lingering in these areas. Sensations thought to be caused by the lingering presence of spirits or the intense emotions imprinted onto the terrain. Some hikers have even reported brief glimpses of faces appearing in shadows along rock formations, only to disappear when looked at directly. Folklore surrounding the ravine enhances its eerie reputation. Stories of lost travelers, doomed couples, and children wandering too far from home are commonly shared among locals. Some believe the spirits are protective, guiding the living away from dangerous cliffs or treacherous trails, while others warn that certain areas trap energy, holding visitors in the uncanny sensation of being watched or followed. Whether these tales are warnings or attempts to explain the unexplainable, they add to the sense of foreboding that permeates the ravine. Even casual visitors often leave with a lingering sense of unease. The combination of steep cliffs, dense trees, rushing water, and the unexplained phenomena creates an atmosphere where the natural and supernatural blend seamlessly. The ravine seems to amplify emotions, magnifying fear, sorrow, or curiosity, leaving hikers deeply aware of every sound, shadow, and sudden chill. Many report feeling a presence long after they leave, as if a part of the ravine has followed them back into the ordinary world. Turkey Creek Ravine, a blend of natural beauty and paranormal activity, has drawn not only hikers but also ghost hunters and paranormal researchers. Equipment often captures inexplicable sounds, whispers, footsteps, and the rustle of unseen movement, while cameras record shadowy forms or orbs of light. EVP recordings sometimes include voices speaking in tones that are urgent, pleading, or sorrowful, and temperature readings reveal sudden drops in areas untouched by wind or weather. Despite these tangible pieces of evidence, the ravine retains its mystery, defying full explanation. Exploring Turkey Creek Ravine is an experience that challenges the senses and the mind. While the trails and cliffs offer stunning views and a chance to connect with nature, the history and paranormal activity imbue the area with a lingering sense of tension. Every echo, shadow, and gust of cold wind serves as a reminder that the land remembers those who came before, and that some spirits never leave. Visitors may come seeking adventure, but many leave with stories of encounters that blur the line between the living and the dead, a chilling testament to the hidden history of southern Indiana's Turkey Creek Ravine. Tippecanoe Battlefield Forest in Battleground, Indiana, is a serene and wooded area by day, its canopy of tall oaks and maples creating dappled sunlight over the forest floor. Yet beneath this peaceful exterior lies a site heavy with history and haunted by lingering energy. The forest preserves the memory of historic conflicts, particularly the Battle of Tippecanoe, and locals claim that echoes of the past continue to resonate, creating a sense of unease for visitors who wander its trails. Hikers and history enthusiasts often report feeling an unseen presence among the trees, a sensation that grows stronger in certain sections of the forest. Shadowy figures have been observed moving silently between the trunks, often appearing in the corner of the eye and vanishing when directly approached. Many describe these apparitions as soldiers in period uniforms, standing motionless on narrow trails or along ridges, as if caught in the act of maneuvering during long-past battles. These figures exude a heavy, oppressive aura, leaving those who encounter them with a palpable sense of dread. Auditory phenomena are among the most frequently reported experiences at Tippecanoe Battlefield Forest. Visitors have heard the distant cracks of musket fire, even when the forest is otherwise silent, and some claim to smell smoke and gunpowder lingering in the air. Footsteps are often reported following hikers along deserted trails, the sound of boots on leaf-covered paths echoing unnaturally through the trees. Disembodied whispers, sometimes repeating fragmented phrases or commands, have been captured on audio recorders, giving paranormal teams chilling evidence that the forest still holds the voices of the past. The density of the forest itself seems to amplify these experiences. Sunlight filtering through the canopy creates shifting shadows that can transform into human shapes at a glance, while the undergrowth hides sudden movements that vanish the moment one looks directly. Many explorers recount a creeping sensation of being watched from multiple directions at once, with the natural sounds of birds or wind mixing with unexplainable echoes of human activity. Even seasoned hikers, unfamiliar with the paranormal, often pause mid-trail, straining to distinguish reality from something far more sinister. Certain areas of the battlefield forest are repeatedly noted as hotspots for activity. Small clearings where skirmishes likely occurred are reported to produce the strongest sensations of presence. Hikers often feel sudden cold spots, chills that descend in the absence of wind, accompanied by the faintest touch, as if a ghostly hand brushes their arm. Others report glimpsing fleeting images of campfires or tents, only to vanish when approached. These experiences leave many with the impression that the forest itself holds a record of the past, replaying scenes of battle for anyone sensitive enough to notice. Legends surrounding the forest contribute to its haunted reputation. Stories tell of soldiers who never found rest, wandering the battlefield eternally, searching for lost comrades or unfinished duty. Some tales speak of local inhabitants caught in the crossfire, their spirits bound to the land, replaying the moments of fear and tragedy that overtook them. Visitors often feel the weight of these histories, with the forest creating a physical and emotional connection to events long before their time. Nighttime visits intensify the forest's eerie reputation. As dusk falls, shadows lengthen and the undergrowth swallows sound, leaving explorers acutely aware of every footstep and rustle. Some report seeing flickering lights resembling torches or distant campfires, which vanish as quickly as they appear. Others hear the repetition of commands, orders, or battle cries carried across the silent forest, echoing unnaturally as if the woods themselves were amplifying a spectral replay of combat. Cold spots and sudden gusts of wind strike with no apparent source, heightening the sense of vulnerability in the darkness. Paranormal investigators frequently document experiences at Tippecanoe Battlefield Forest, using cameras, audio recorders, and temperature sensors. Many capture fleeting images of figures partially obscured by trees, unusual orbs of light, or shadowy forms moving across camera lenses. AVP sessions often reveal whispers, murmurs, or indistinct voices calling out names or repeating old commands, even when no visible phenomena are recorded. Visitors report sensations that defy explanation: pressure on the shoulders, the feeling of being followed, or sudden dizziness when entering specific clearings or trail intersections. The forest's combination of history and natural isolation creates a psychological effect as well. Awareness of the battlefield's past tragedies seems to heighten sensitivity to environmental stimuli, making rustling leaves or distant animal calls take on uncanny significance. The interplay between memory, legend, and observation blurs the line between the natural and the supernatural, leaving even skeptical visitors questioning what is real and what is lingering energy from the past. Exploring Tippecanoe Battlefield Forest is not merely a walk through nature, it's a journey through time and tragedy. The combination of shadowy figures, ghostly sounds, and unexplained sensations creates an atmosphere where history is tangibly present. Each trail, clearing, and ridge carries echoes of soldiers and civilians alike, their stories etched into the landscape. Visitors leave with a profound awareness of the past, and often a lingering sense that they were never truly alone among the trees. Tippecanoe Battlefield Forest stands as a testament to the power of place, where memory, tragedy, and residual energy converge. Whether through the spectral images of soldiers, the sound of phantom musket fire, or the whispers carried on the wind, the forest preserves the past in a way that both fascinates and terrifies. Those who venture here experience more than a scenic forest. They step into a realm where history's shadows continue to walk, leaving a chilling imprint on the living. Lake Monroe Woods in Bloomington, Indiana, is a place of striking natural beauty, with dense forests that slope down toward the wide, tranquil waters of Lake Monroe. During the day, hikers and campers are drawn to its scenic trails and quiet coves. But as night falls, the woods take on an unsettling presence that has long captivated ghost hunters and locals alike. Many who venture here report experiences that defy explanation, suggesting that the forest and lake are steeped in lingering energy from the past. Visitors frequently describe hearing unexplained cries echoing across the woods, often late in the evening when trails are deserted. The sounds are sometimes human, other times more animalistic, but always carry a sense of desperation or sorrow. Campers have recounted waking to the sound of footsteps circling their tents, as though invisible figures are moving stealthily through the trees. The forest floor, covered with fallen leaves and pine needles, betrays no signs of human presence, yet the feeling of being watched remains palpable. Many describe an almost suffocating tension that seems to follow them, as if unseen eyes are tracking their every movement. Shadows flitting between the trees are another common report. Some appear humanoid, tall and thin, slipping silently through the undergrowth. Others seem more fleeting, mere impressions of movement caught from the corner of one's eye. Hikers attempting to approach these figures often find them vanishing instantly, leaving behind only the rustle of leaves or a sudden, chilling breeze. One recurring story involves a figure dressed in early settler garb, wandering along the shoreline of Lake Monroe. Witnesses claim that this apparition sometimes pauses, gazing out over the water before dissolving into the mist. The lake itself is a focal point for eerie phenomena. Numerous accounts describe strange lights dancing across the water at night, resembling lanterns bobbing on the surface with no discernible source. Some observers have tried to approach these lights by boat or on foot, only to find that they flicker and vanish the moment one gets too close. In addition to visual phenomena, the lake is linked to auditory experiences. Voices, sometimes whispering names or fragmented phrases, have been recorded on EVPs by paranormal investigators. The whispers are often faint and layered, creating the impression that multiple presences are speaking simultaneously, yet no one is visible. Many legends surrounding Lake Monroe Woods center on early settlers and the hardships they've faced. Historical accounts speak of families enduring harsh winters, illness, and occasional violent conflicts with other settlers or Native American groups. Locals say that the energy of these struggles has remained imprinted on the land, creating the strange occurrences reported today. Some hikers have felt sudden cold spots while walking along trails, particularly near old homestead sites or natural clearings. These drops in temperature are abrupt and localized, as though the forest itself is manifesting the anguish and fear of past inhabitants. The woods' dense canopy and winding trails contribute to the haunting atmosphere. Sunlight filtering through the leaves creates patterns that can resemble human figures or flickering shadows, while at night, moonlight glinting off the water amplifies the eerie sense of isolation. Campers often report hearing rustling behind them in areas where no wind is present, and branches seem to snap with alarming regularity underfoot despite no visible animal. The combination of environmental stimuli and historical context heightens the perception of paranormal activity, making Lake Monroe Woods one of the most unsettling natural areas in the state. Those who spend extended time in the forest often note a sense of being guided or watched by unseen forces. Trails that seem familiar during the day can feel disorienting at night, as though subtle changes in the landscape steer visitors away from certain areas or toward them. Shadowy figures sometimes appear along familiar paths, only to vanish when approached, creating a feeling of both attraction and dread. Some campers have awoken to find small objects displaced, footprints appearing in the dirt where none should exist, or faint handprints on tents or canoes. Paranormal investigators have visited Lake Monroe Woods repeatedly, capturing a wide array of phenomena on camera and audio equipment. Some have recorded EVPs of faint whispers, while others have documented orbs of light moving rapidly across the tree line. Thermal imaging has occasionally revealed cold spots or shapes that move independently of the natural wind and wildlife patterns. Even when direct evidence is elusive, the experiences reported by visitors' footsteps, cries, shadows, and sudden chills point to a persistent and unsettling presence that continues to intrigue and terrify those who venture here. Despite the fear it inspires, Lake Monroe Woods continues to attract hikers, campers, and paranormal enthusiasts eager to experience the forest for themselves. The combination of natural beauty, historical resonance, and inexplicable phenomena creates a unique setting where the past feels remarkably close. Each trail, cove, and lakeshore seems to hold its own story, with the energy of the land imprinting itself on those who linger too long. Lake Monroe Woods is more than just a park. It is a living archive of history, hardship, and the unexplained. From spectral settlers walking the shoreline to disembodied footsteps echoing through the trees, the area offers a chilling glimpse into a world where the line between the living and the dead is blurred. Visitors leave the forest with a profound awareness that these woods are never truly empty, that the lake reflects more than the sky above, and that some presence quiet, restless, and eternal continues to move unseen among the trees. Harmony Bluff Overlook in southwestern Indiana is a place of striking natural beauty, with its high cliffs providing sweeping views over rolling hills and dense forests. By day, the bluffs are a peaceful retreat for hikers, photographers, and nature lovers, offering quiet solitude and the chance to gaze out over the verdant landscape. Yet as dusk falls and shadows stretch across the forested valleys, the atmosphere changes dramatically. Those who linger near the cliff edges after sunset often report experiences that defy explanation, suggesting that the bluff is far more than just a scenic overlook, is a place where history and lingering energy converge in unsettling ways. Visitors frequently describe seeing shadowy figures standing along the bluff's edges, their forms sometimes humanoid, other times indistinct, almost like dark silhouettes against the fading light. These apparitions are said to vanish instantly when approached, leaving no trace other than a sudden chill in the air. Hikers recount moments when they felt as though they were being watched, the sense of unseen eyes tracking their every movement, producing a creeping dread. Some claim that these figures are drawn to the cliff, silently surveying the landscape below before disappearing into thin air. The wind plays a significant role in the bluff's eerie reputation. As it sweeps across the high cliffs, it often carries whispers that are impossible to identify. At times, the voices sound like pleas for help, fragmented and mournful, echoing off the rocks in patterns that seem almost deliberate. Some hikers have reported hearing their names called in these whispers, only to turn and find no one present. The combination of wind, height, and the natural acoustics of the cliffs seems to amplify these sounds, creating a haunting auditory experience that leaves visitors tense and disoriented. Many who explore the bluff at night have experienced sudden vertigo or the sensation of being pushed toward the cliff edge. While no one has ever been physically harmed, the feeling is intense and frightening. Some speculate that these sensations are tied to residual energy, as the bluff is known to have been the site of accidents and tragedies over the centuries. Paranormal researchers suggest that the area functions as a nexus for lingering energy, drawn to moments of intense fear or trauma, which can manifest as physical sensations or visual phenomena. Shadow figures are not the only sightings reported at Harmony Bluff. Some witnesses have described fleeting shapes moving through the forest below the cliff, disappearing among the trees as if retreating from view. Others have noticed lights flickering along the horizon, appearing suddenly and vanishing without explanation. These visual anomalies often coincide with the whispered sounds, leading many to believe that the bluff is a place where multiple layers of history converge, and where spirits of the past continue to interact with the living world. The history of the surrounding area adds to the unsettling nature of Harmony Bluff. The region was once home to early settlers and indigenous tribes, and records indicate numerous accidents and unexplained deaths in the vicinity over the past 2 centuries. Some researchers believe that these events have left imprints on the landscape, creating an environment where strong emotional energy lingers long after the individuals involved have passed. Hikers and paranormal investigators often report that certain points along the bluff feel heavier than others, as if the energy is concentrated in pockets, producing sudden cold spots, dizziness, or a sense of oppression. Paranormal investigations at Harmony Bluff have captured a variety of phenomena, other times clearly resembling voices calling out for help. Night vision cameras have documented shadowy shapes moving across the cliffs or along trails where no one is present. Some thermal imaging devices have even picked up cold anomalies and transient figures that vanish before verification, while skeptics attribute these experiences to natural acoustics, optical illusions, or heightened anxiety. The consistency of reports over decades makes the bluff a prime location for those interested in the unexplained. Visitors who linger too long near the cliff edges often report an oppressive sense of being drawn into the landscape. Trails that seemed familiar during the day can feel disorienting at night, as if the forest and cliffs themselves shift to guide or trap explorers. Shadowy figures sometimes appear closer than expected, disappearing in a flash of darkness or into the thickening mist. Some hikers have reported objects being displaced, rocks, sticks, or personal items without any logical explanation, further fueling the sense that the bluff is alive with unseen presence. Even for those who approach Harmony Bluff cautiously, the experience can leave a lasting impression. Many report an underlying feeling of unease that persists long after leaving the site, as though some part of the bluff has attached itself to their memory. The combination of striking natural beauty, historical tragedy, An unexplained phenomena creates a place that is at once captivating and terrifying, drawing both thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts eager to experience the bluff's haunting atmosphere firsthand. Harmony Bluff Overlook is more than just a scenic vantage point. It is a location where the past seems to bleed into the present, where whispers ride the wind and shadowy figures linger at the edges of vision. The cliffs hold stories of those who lived, suffered, and perished in the area, leaving echoes that manifest as chills, voices, and fleeting shapes. For anyone venturing into this southwestern Indiana landmark after sunset, the beauty of the landscape is inseparable from its haunting presence, leaving a sense of wonder mingled with a deep and enduring unease. Salem Swamp in central Indiana is a place that exudes quiet menace. Its murky waters and dense vegetation giving the impression that it exists on the edge of the natural and supernatural worlds. During the day, the swamp appears almost serene, with moss-draped trees, sluggish waters, and birds calling softly across the marshes. Yet as twilight descends and fog creeps along the water, a more unsettling atmosphere emerges. Those who venture into Salem Swamp after dark often find that it is alive with sounds and sights that cannot be easily explained. Travelers report the sensation of being followed almost immediately upon entering the swamp at night. Footsteps squelch through mud and fallen leaves behind them, yet when they turn, the path remains empty. The dense fog seems to carry voices, faint and fragmented, sometimes resembling whispers of words in a language long forgotten. These sounds are subtle at first, a barely noticeable rustle of reeds, but they grow in intensity as visitors proceed deeper into the swamp, leaving many with an overwhelming sense of unease. Shadowy figures are a common phenomenon in Salem Swamp. Observers often catch glimpses of humanoid shapes flitting between trees or disappearing into the thick mist. These forms are rarely solid or defined, more like dark outlines that shift and move with unnatural speed. Some have described seeing the figures standing at the edge of pools or along narrow pathways, motionless and silent, only to vanish when approached. Others report that the shadows appear to follow them, maintaining an uncomfortably close distance before melting into the fog. Ghostly animals are also part of the swamp's unnerving reputation. Hikers have reported pairs of glowing eyes watching from the brush, often belonging to no visible creature. These sightings are sometimes accompanied by the sensation of a presence moving alongside the trail. Yet when turned to investigate, nothing is there. Sounds of distant snarls, low growls, or sudden splashes across the water add to the disorienting experience, leaving many feeling as though the swamp itself is alive and observing intruders. Whispers are a particularly eerie feature of Salem Swamp. These are not the kind of noises caused by wind or wildlife. They often appear to respond to movement coming from every direction at once. Campers recount hearing their own names, spoken softly, or indecipherable murmurs that provoke goosebumps. Some paranormal enthusiasts believe these are the voices of long-dead settlers, explorers, or Native Americans who once traversed the swamp. Their energy lingering in the fog-laden marshes. AVP recordings taken in the area frequently capture faint murmurs and faintly intelligible phrases that cannot be traced to any living source, lending credibility to the swamp's haunted reputation. Those who have ventured into Salem Swamp at night often describe the environment itself as oppressive. The heavy humidity, combined with the dense fog, creates a claustrophobic feeling, amplified by the knowledge that unseen eyes may be watching. Paths that seemed clear in daylight become labyrinthine at night, with trees and reeds forming twisting corridors. Hikers frequently report a disorienting sense of movement, feeling as though the swamp subtly shifts around them. Some have even described stepping into cold, invisible currents, as if the air itself is charged with unseen energy. Local folklore amplifies the swamp's mystique. Stories abound of travelers who disappeared without a trace, of spectral lights bobbing above the waters, and of ghostly figures that appear on moonlit nights to warn or chase away intruders. Some legends speak of a lost settlement, long swallowed by the swamp, where the spirits of former inhabitants wander, forever bound to the murky waters and fog-choked trails. Other tales recount Native American warriors who died defending the swamp and now patrol its boundaries in spectral form. Whether these stories are rooted in history or imagination, they contribute to the foreboding aura that surrounds Salem Swamp. Paranormal investigators visiting the swamp report a variety of unusual phenomena. Sudden drops in temperature occur without warning, often accompanied by inexplicable sounds. Flashlights and camera equipment sometimes malfunction, and shadowy movements are captured on night vision cameras where no living person was present. Many investigators report a lingering sense of dread, an emotional weight that makes prolonged exploration difficult. Those who linger too long often find that the swamp seems to resist their presence, with fog thickening suddenly and familiar paths appearing unfamiliar or disappearing altogether. Even casual visitors can feel the haunting presence. Daylight brings little comfort, as the swamp's thick canopy casts long shadows and the water mirrors the twisted trees, giving a sense of hidden movement. Wildlife behaves oddly in certain areas. Birds refuse to land, and small animals skitter nervously through the underbrush. The combination of environmental cues and historical stories creates an unsettling experience that can stay with a person long after leaving the swamp. Salem Swamp is not simply a natural landmark. It's a place where history, tragedy, and unexplained phenomena converge. From shadowy figures and ghostly animals to whispers carried on the fog, the swamp offers encounters that range from chilling to terrifying. Many locals advise avoiding the area after sunset, warning that the spirits are most active under the moon's glow. For those drawn to the unexplained, Salem Swamp offers a haunting adventure into the unknown, where the line between the living and the dead seems to blur, leaving visitors to wonder what truly dwells within its mist-shrouded waters. Riverside Cliff in southern Indiana is a place of breathtaking beauty by day, offering panoramic views of a winding river bending through dense forest. Sunlight glints off the water, and the cliffs themselves are dotted with wildflowers and weathered rock formations. Yet beneath this serene exterior lies a darker history, one steeped in tragedy and lingering unease. Over the years, the cliff has become associated with fatal accidents, untimely deaths, and whispers of spirits that refuse to move on. Visitors often speak of a chilling presence, a sense that the natural beauty masks something far more sinister. The most common reports involve shadowy figures pacing near the edge of the cliff. Hikers and sightseers have described seeing silhouettes of people, sometimes clearly outlined, other times faint and blurry, wandering along the precipice. When approached, these figures vanish, as if they were never truly there. Some witnesses claim the figures repeat the same motions endlessly, pacing as though trapped in time, their purpose inscrutable. This repetitive activity has led locals to believe that the spirits are reenacting moments of despair or unrest, forever bound to the cliff where their lives ended. Echoing footsteps are another frequent phenomenon. Visitors often hear the sound of boots or shoes striking the rocky surface, even when they are entirely alone. The echoes seem to come from all directions, bouncing off the cliffs and the river below. Sometimes the footsteps quicken, sounding as if someone is following, only to stop abruptly when the witness turns around. The dissonance between the serene scenery and the unnerving auditory experience heightens the feeling of dread. For many, the simple act of walking along the cliff's edge becomes a test of nerve, as though the landscape itself is complicit in the supernatural activity. Disembodied voices add yet another layer of terror to Riverside Cliff. Some hikers report faint murmurs, whispers in a language that feels ancient or foreign. Others have heard cries of distress or muffled sobs carried by the wind. These sounds are often localized near areas where accidents or suicides are believed to have occurred. Paranormal investigators who have recorded EVP sessions at the site often capture phrases or words that cannot be attributed to any living person, lending a spectral authenticity to the experiences reported by casual visitors. A particularly chilling aspect of Riverside Cliff is the sensation of physical contact from unseen entities. Hikers have described invisible hands tugging at their clothing, brushing against their hair, or pressing lightly on their shoulders. These encounters are accompanied by sudden drops in temperature, sometimes so intense that breath becomes visible in the open air. The combination of touch, cold, and the eerie sounds creates a palpable feeling of being haunted, as if the cliff itself is aware of the human presence and reacts to it with an otherworldly force. The history of the cliff contributes to its ominous reputation. Records and local accounts suggest that several tragic accidents have occurred at this bend of the river, including falls during hiking excursions and jumps linked to suicide. Some legends speak of lovers who leap together into the water below, their spirits said to wander the cliff, eternally searching for one another. Other tales tell of travelers who disappeared mysteriously, their fates unknown, leaving behind only an aura of unresolved sorrow. The weight of these stories seems to amplify the haunting experiences, creating a setting where past tragedy bleeds into the present. Shadows often appear at the edges of perception, darting behind trees or along the cliff face. Some have seen fleeting flashes of light reflecting off rock or water, moving unnaturally quickly, almost as if guiding or warning. On rare occasions, hikers claim to glimpse full-bodied apparitions standing at the cliff's edge, peering down at the river below. These figures vanish when approached, leaving only the cold air and an eerie silence in their place. The atmosphere at Riverside Cliff can be deceptively inviting. Daytime visitors are often unaware of the haunting, distracted by the breathtaking view and natural surroundings. Yet as dusk approaches, the fog that rises from the river can transform the landscape into a shadowy, labyrinthine environment. Trails become less distinct, sounds carry in strange ways, and the fog itself seems almost alive, obscuring paths and hiding forms in the mist. Many who remain too late describe feeling watched, as though unseen eyes track their every move along the cliff. Paranormal teams and thrill-seekers alike are drawn to Riverside Cliff for these very reasons. Nighttime investigations have recorded sudden temperature fluctuations, captured anomalous shadows on cameras, and documented inexplicable noises. Some researchers believe that the site holds residual energy, a lingering imprint of traumatic events that replay in subtle ways for those sensitive to paranormal phenomena. The intensity of these experiences often varies, with some visitors reporting only minor unease, while others feel deeply unsettled, their anxiety magnified by the oppressive history of the location. Riverside Cliff serves as a striking example of how natural beauty and human tragedy can intertwine to create a location steeped in legend and fear. The combination of shadow figures, ghostly footsteps, unexplained voices, and physical sensations creates an environment where the past is never truly past. Visitors leave the area with stories that are difficult to explain, a lingering sense of tension, and a profound respect for the mysteries that shroud the cliff. It is a place where the serenity of the river contrasts sharply with the weight of history, and where each visit carries the possibility of encountering something that exists just beyond the veil of the ordinary world. For those who venture to Riverside Cliff, the experience is unforgettable. The views may captivate the eyes, but the unseen presences seize the imagination and chill the soul. Whether one attributes the phenomena to spirits, residual energy, or the power of suggestion, there is no denying the unsettling energy that permeates the cliff. It is a place where nature, history, and the supernatural collide, leaving every visitor to wonder what truly lurks at the edge of the river and the shadowy precipice above. Whitewater State Forest in southeastern Indiana is a landscape of natural beauty, with dense woods, winding trails, and secluded streams that offer a tranquil escape for hikers, campers, and nature enthusiasts. Yet, beneath its picturesque exterior, the forest has long carried a reputation for the unexplained, attracting ghost hunters and thrill-seekers drawn to stories of restless spirits and eerie phenomena. Visitors often report experiences that defy logic, blending the serenity of the wilderness with a palpable sense of unease that lingers long after leaving the trails. Many who explore Whitewater State Forest describe encounters with phantom hikers, figures glimpsed along remote paths, who vanish when approached. These apparitions are often fleeting, seen from the corner of the eye, or reflected briefly in water, only to disappear into the shadows of the dense trees. Some hikers have recounted following the sounds of footsteps along empty trails, only to realize that they are alone. The footsteps stop abruptly when turned toward, leaving only silence and the rustle of leaves in the wind. This phenomenon contributes to a growing sense of tension among those who venture deep into the forest, where the line between reality and the supernatural seems to blur. Disembodied voices are another recurring aspect of the forest's haunting. Visitors frequently report hearing whispers that carry across streams or rustle through the canopy, even when no one else is present. These sounds are often unintelligible, a mix of murmurs, sighs, and faint laughter, yet some have claimed to discern words of warning or distress. Campers have recorded EVPs during night investigations, capturing faint calls, sobbing, or whispers that cannot be attributed to any known source. The presence of these sounds, combined with the isolation of the forest, creates an environment that can feel oppressive and alive with unseen activity. Sudden chills and cold spots are a common feature reported in Whitewater State Forest. Walkers describe experiencing drops in temperature that are intense and localized, often coinciding with the sighting of a shadow or the sense of being watched. Some have felt icy touches on their arms or shoulders, startling enough to make them spin around, only to find empty trails and swaying trees. The contrast between the warmth of the daytime sun and these abrupt pockets of cold adds to the disorienting and unnerving atmosphere, making even familiar paths feel unpredictable and foreboding. Old logging sites and abandoned cabins within the forest amplify its haunted reputation. These structures, left to decay over decades, often serve as focal points for paranormal activity. Some visitors claim to hear the creaking of swinging doors, the scraping of wood across floors, or the low groans of collapsing beams, sounds that seem to mimic human activity long after the areas have been abandoned. Shadows are frequently reported moving just beyond sightlines, darting across broken windows or between fallen logs. These locations are said to carry residual energy, imprints of the labor and lives that once animated the forest, now replayed in subtle yet unmistakable ways. Hikers have also recounted moments when the forest itself seems to respond to their presence. Leaves rustle when no breeze is present, distant branches snap under imagined footsteps, and water in secluded streams can appear to ripple in patterns that suggest movement along its banks. Some visitors experience a sensation of being followed, with taps on the shoulder, brushes against clothing, or fleeting touches along the arms, even when no one else is nearby. The combination of sensory anomalies, sudden temperature changes, and shadowy glimpses creates an environment where the ordinary rules of nature feel suspended, and every step along the trail carries the potential for something unexpected. The forest's haunted reputation is further reinforced by local legends. Tales speak of settlers and loggers who disappeared mysteriously, leaving behind echoes of their presence that remain tied to the landscape. Stories of lost children or travelers who wandered off the trails and were never found are common, lending the forest a sense of historical unease. Many believe that these tragic events have left lingering spirits, forever wandering the paths and observing the living. Others suggest that the forest itself harbors a consciousness, a lingering memory of the people who once inhabited and worked within it. Visitors often remark on the intense feeling of isolation within Whitewater State Forest. Even during daylight hours, the dense canopy and winding paths create a sense of seclusion, where sounds carry strangely and shadows play tricks on the eye. After sunset, the atmosphere becomes more pronounced, with the forest's natural darkness heightening sensitivity to sounds and movements. Many hikers report feeling watched, as if unseen eyes track their movements, and the quiet of the forest is punctuated by subtle anomalies that make leaving the trails a cautious endeavor. Paranormal investigators who have spent time in Whitewater State Forest often note that activity varies depending on location and time of day. Areas near abandoned cabins or old logging roads tend to exhibit the most intense phenomena, while quiet meadows and open trails are less active. However, sudden sounds, apparitions, and temperature changes can occur anywhere, creating an unpredictable and immersive experience. Some investigators have captured unexplained orbs of light, shadowy figures, and EVP recordings that suggest the presence of entities separate from the living. Despite, or perhaps because of its haunting reputation, Whitewater State Forest continues to draw explorers and thrill seekers. The combination of natural beauty, historic remnants, and spectral phenomena creates an environment rich with mystery and tension. Visitors leave with stories that are difficult to explain, experiences that linger in memory, and a newfound respect for the forest's hidden depths. Each visit holds the potential for an encounter that defies logic, a brush with the unseen, or the sudden sensation that the forest is alive in ways most cannot perceive. Cave Spring Hollow in northern Indiana is a place where the beauty of nature meets an unsettling aura, making it a destination both for outdoor enthusiasts and paranormal investigators. The area is characterized by rocky gorges, dense woodlands, and crystal-clear spring-fed pools that have carved their way through the landscape over centuries. Yet beneath the calm surface of these natural wonders, locals and visitors alike have long whispered about strange occurrences and lingering spirits that seem to haunt the hollows. Hikers entering Cave Spring Hollow often speak of an immediate shift in atmosphere. The air seems heavier, cooler, and charged with a subtle tension that grows the further one ventures into the gorges. The trails wind unpredictably, and even those familiar with the paths report feeling disoriented, as though the landscape itself is subtly reshaping to confuse intruders. Some have found themselves stepping into sections they could swear they had passed moments before, adding to the unsettling nature of the hollow. Caves dotting the hollow are focal points for reported paranormal activity. Visitors frequently recount glimpses of shadowy figures moving in the darkness beyond torchlight or headlamps. These figures are described as fleeting, appearing in peripheral vision, and vanishing when confronted directly. Many hikers have reported the sensation of being watched from deep within the caves, an oppressive feeling that seems to grow as one ventures further into the underground chambers. Whispers and murmurs are commonly heard echoing off stone walls, sometimes seeming to form words, though their meanings remain elusive. Some say these are remnants of those who suffered or perished in the area long ago, their spirits bound to the rocky hollows. The spring-fed pools within Cave Spring Hollow carry their own eerie reputation. The water is clear, cool, and inviting, yet some visitors report feeling an unnatural chill as they approach. A sense of unease can descend suddenly, as if invisible presences are observing from beneath the surface. There are numerous accounts of faint ripples appearing on the pool's surfaces with no wind or movement nearby, leading some to speculate that spirits may interact with the physical world in subtle ways. On occasion, hikers claim to see indistinct shapes reflecting in the water figures with no apparent source before they dissolve into the surrounding darkness. Disorienting winds and shifting light patterns add to the hollow's unsettling atmosphere. Even on calm days, gusts may sweep through the gorge as though funneled by unseen hands, and shadows cast by rock formations can seem to move independently. Some visitors have felt sudden pressure or brushes against their skin while exploring narrow passages, moments that send chills down the spine. These sensations, combined with the natural isolation of the hollow, make every step feel charged with uncertainty and unease. Legends surrounding Cave Spring Hollow often tie back to the natural and human history of the area. Locals speak of travelers who became lost in the hollow, never to return, their spirits said to wander the gorges in search of a way out. Others recount tales of unfortunate miners and settlers who met untimely deaths near springs or caves, their residual energy believed to linger in the very rocks and water. These stories have been passed down for generations, blending oral history with unexplained phenomena to form a rich tapestry of paranormal lore. Campers who spend the night in the hollow report some of the most unnerving experiences. Many claim to hear whispers carried on the wind, footsteps approaching their tents, and shadows flitting between trees and rocks, just beyond the light of their campfires. Some have awakened to the sound of running water or voices echoing near their sleeping area, only to find the hollows completely empty. Investigators suggest that the energy in the area is most potent during nighttime hours, when the combination of darkness and isolation heightens sensitivity to any anomaly. Paranormal teams who have explored Cave Spring Hollow often cite residual energy as a key factor in the hauntings. Electronic devices can behave erratically, with compasses spinning, cameras failing, and recorders picking up unexplained voices or low-frequency hums. Some EVP recordings have captured faint cries, murmurs, or repetitive phrases that appear to have no logical source. Investigators suggest that the hollow may act as a natural amplifier for these phenomena, channeling energy through the rocky walls and narrow passages, creating an environment rich with unexplained activity. The natural beauty of Cave Spring Hollow is undeniable, yet it exists in stark contrast with its reputation as a haunted site. The towering cliffs, lush foliage, and sparkling pools draw hikers and photographers, while the persistent stories of shadows, whispers, and spectral figures draw ghost hunters and thrill seekers. Visitors often describe an acute awareness of history and presence, as if the hollow itself holds memories of those who have passed through or perished in its depths. Each exploration becomes a journey not only through a physical landscape, but also through a space where the boundary between the natural and the supernatural feels remarkably thin. Ultimately, Cave Spring Hollow remains one of Indiana's most enigmatic natural sites. Its combination of rugged terrain, secluded caves, and spring-fed pools creates a setting that is both breathtaking and unsettling. Shadowy figures, whispers echoing through stone chambers, sudden chills, and disorienting trails all contribute to an atmosphere thick with mystery. Whether drawn by the beauty of the landscape, the thrill of the unknown, or a desire to encounter the unexplained, visitors leave with stories that linger, haunted by both the natural wonders and the spirits that seem to inhabit them, making Cave Spring Hollow an unforgettable experience for the brave and the curious alike. Indiana's landscapes are as haunting as they are beautiful. From mist-covered rivers to dense forests, these natural places carry the echoes of history, tragedy, and mystery. Ghostly figures, unexplained sounds, and sudden chills remind us that the past is never truly gone yet, lingers, sometimes waiting for the curious and daring to explore. Whether you're a thrill seeker, a paranormal investigator, or simply someone fascinated by legends, these 25 haunted natural places in Indiana offer glimpses into a world where the living and the spirits of the past coexist. Step lightly, keep your wits about you, and remember, some paths are better left unexplored after dark.